Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Andrew Mays, and I'm the Commissioner of the Connecticut Insurance Department. This is the second annual NextGen Career Academy, and I am thrilled to officially open this year's event and welcome you all. Thank you for joining us. Who is the next generation of insurance professionals? You are. The next generation is a diverse mix of Gen Xers, millennials, Gen Z, and beyond who want a rewarding job that offers flexibility, work-life balance, security with growth opportunities, and limitless possibilities for development, and of course, creativity. I'm here to tell you all that and more can be found with a career in insurance. Today's program is for open-minded students, individuals who have zero clue what they want to be when they grow up, much as I did. Professionals looking to make a change, and even those of you getting extra credit for attending. Our goal is to give you tools and information to allow you to step into your future. We have 4 great sessions today. You'll get to learn firsthand from young professionals and industry leaders on why you would make a great candidate to work in insurance, how to navigate your educational path, where to find some of the most interesting jobs, and what is on the horizon. Everyone you hear from today has been exactly where you are now and are ready to share their experiences and give you a glimpse inside the world of insurance. Whether you're thinking of becoming a fraud investigator, risk consultant, marketing director, cybersecurity specialist, or even an agency commissioner, the insurance industry has something for everyone. Our goal is to highlight the exciting possibilities available and connect job seekers with career opportunities. Insurance is an innovative and dynamic field that places a great premium on people. The industry believes in working with people's strengths and unique skill sets while offering on-the-job training to meet talent needs. This is an exciting time to work in the insurance industry, but there's never been a wrong time to get involved. So why not now? Make sure to keep visiting the NextGen site to take full advantage of networking and educational tools, find updates on career fairs and industry events, and stay current with the latest job postings. With that, let's get this year's NextGen Career Academy started and get you started on your professional journey. Thank you, and I look forward to seeing you working either as a regulator or with industry soon. Enjoy today.
Hi, my name is Jared Koski, and I'm the Deputy Commissioner of the Connecticut Insurance Department, and I'm pleased to kick off the first section of this year's NextGen Academy, Insurance, Why Me, Why Now? As you can see from the title of this section, these are big questions and questions I'm sure you've asked yourself, given simply that you're here. My hope is that we might be able to provide some answers to these questions for you as you hear about the different careers and career paths of our speakers through their personal stories. Like with most industries, there's no one career path to insurance. It's a field made up of numerous professions, including insurance agents, underwriters, adjusters, actuaries, accountants, lawyers, investigators, and regulators. As an example, my background is in the legal field. So prior to working in insurance, I was in private practice as a civil trial attorney. But after years of litigation and being in the courtroom, I changed course and decided I wanted to practice transactional law in the public sector. As chance would have it, I ended up at the Connecticut Insurance Department as a staff counsel, despite not having much in the way of insurance experience. But once here, I developed an avid interest in the work and most significantly, the impact and importance of the work we do at the insurance department as regulators. And over my now 6 years at the department, I've transitioned through 4 different positions, most recently as general counsel and now as deputy commissioner. Insurance may not always be a student or recent graduate's first career choice, but that's why we created NextGen Academy. Speakers you'll hear from during this first section will talk about their career paths, and I know you will hear and see their enthusiasm for this industry and the work that they do. I know enthusiasm and insurance are not two words you often hear together, but when you really sit, listen, and talk to those professionals in this industry, you'll hear how pleased they are with the career choice they made. So with that, I would like to thank you all for attending and enjoy this first section.
Hi, I'm Gary Anderson. I'm the Commissioner of Insurance here in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. And let me first start off by saying thank you to Commissioner Mays and the Connecticut Department for organizing this event. We often talk about how we need to do a better job or be more effective at making the world of insurance more exciting or interesting. And I think efforts like this really help us to move in that direction. And Rachel, as I have often told you, when someone asks me what I do for work and I don't really feel like getting into a long conversation about it, I just tell them that I'm in insurance, and that typically kills the conversation. I know that doesn't sound sexy, but in fact, it really is. And we need to look no further than the incorporation of AI and machine learning into the insurance space, which is, I think, really intriguing, but also challenging, because we want to ensure that the technology that we use is applied fairly to everyone. Just imagine the amounts of data that some of these century-old insurance companies have and how they can use that data to create better products. But before I get too excited or go too far into why we do what we do, let me pause here. And before I share a little bit more about me, and Rachel, maybe you can share with us some of your professional and educational background.
Sure. I'm Rachel Davison. I've been the first deputy commissioner for the Massachusetts Division of Insurance for about 2 years. That's such an odd title, first deputy. My dad wondered if I would get a badge, and my sister jokes that it's like being the first runner-up in the Miss America pageant, where if for any reason the winner's unable to fulfill their duties, I get to step up. But it actually comes from the insurance laws, and it's intended to create a succession plan should anything happen to the commissioner, and I hope it doesn't. I'm actually the senior advisor to the commissioner as we regulate the business of insurance in Massachusetts, and I get to see all aspects of the division's operations. I started with the division in 2015 as general counsel, coming from private practice where I was a partner in a law firm. And when the opportunity to join the division came along, it was something I couldn't pass up. Insurance was familiar to me, having done insurance coverage work. That's basically figuring out whether insurance is available for a particular claim, analyzing an insurance policy and applying it to the facts. And while I had done that for years before coming to the DOI, I quickly learned that I actually knew very little about insurance because it's so much broader than coverage work. At the division, you get to see so much more. And as an insurance regulator, you get to see it all from a very different perspective. Commissioner, maybe you want to talk a little bit about your path to DOI and your current role?
Yeah, happy to chat a bit about my professional background. And don't want to forget something to pick up on later that you said, which is that, once you came to the Division of Insurance, you were able to see this broader picture of the insurance world that you might not have been privy to while you were at the law firm. And honestly, the same goes for me. We can discuss that maybe here in a minute. And kind of like you, Rachel, I am not a native to Massachusetts. I grew up in Idaho. I traveled east for law school to New York. And then after that, I came to Boston. Prior to law school, I had the opportunity to work in the insurance world for a company in the Northwestern United States. And so that was my introduction into the types of products that are sold in the market and which product best fits each policyholder. Then, like I mentioned, I came east for law school. And after law school, I landed in Boston for a job. And that job in Boston was at the intersection of policy and politics and law. That was in the Massachusetts legislature. So just prior to joining the Division of Insurance here in Massachusetts, I worked as a policy advisor and counsel to the Massachusetts Senate President. And in that particular role, I built on a previous role, and I oversaw issues related to the financial services sector, which included banking and insurance. And much of the work was post-financial crisis, so it obviously included a lot of banking-related work. But I am really glad that it was a role related to insurance that came my way. Again, a bit like you, Rachel, I was approached about an opportunity at the Division of Insurance, and I once was, like you, the first runner-up. That is the first deputy commissioner, and that was just prior to my role as the commissioner. And as I mentioned at the beginning, the opportunities we both had have allowed us to see the insurance world from a very unique perspective, which I feel very fortunate about. And it is unique because we interact with all things insurance. I mean, just in Massachusetts, it alone is roughly about a $60 billion insurance market. This means that the Massachusetts market usually ranks around the top 10 as far as the largest U.S. Markets among the states and the territories. It's actually the 27th largest insurance market in the world. And there are about 1,700 insurance companies here in the Commonwealth doing business, and about 140,000 licensed agents, which we call producers. And we get about 20,000 consumer inquiries every year in our consumer services unit. Now, those numbers represent the big picture, but insurance is intimate in that it can impact each of us in a very personal way. In that vein, Rachel, maybe you can share with us, why insurance? Maybe some of the benefits of working in insurance.
Well, insurance is everywhere. It provides financial protection in the event of an accident, an injury, a loss. And that can really provide peace of mind in times of need, whether you're in a car accident or if you have appendicitis or if you lose a loved one. And there's so many different types of insurance. Everybody probably knows about auto insurance or homeowners or renters insurance, health insurance, maybe even life insurance. There's disability insurance, there's workers' compensation insurance, professional liability insurance. You can even get pet insurance, wedding insurance, kidnapping insurance, alien abduction insurance. There's even insurance for those furniture store giveaways. If there's a no-hitter or the team makes the playoffs and everyone gets free furniture, there's insurance behind that. People might think that insurance is boring and stuffy, but I think that's because maybe they don't know. It's constantly evolving and there's always something new, maybe a new product or a new policy, maybe a better way of interacting with policyholders, like letting them submit accident photos they've taken on their cell phone or using bots for consumer service. But even with bots or recent developments, like you mentioned with artificial intelligence or machine learning, we still need people in insurance. All of these innovations, they start as ideas and they need teams to implement them.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's fascinating to think about the potential of some of the innovations that you just highlighted, Rachel, from the use of AI and machine learning and talking to bots, and those bots being operated by behavioral science to better detect fraud. But like you noted, it does come down to people, and that is people creating the AI, the ML, and the bots, and how we deploy these tools to make insurance more impactful and effective. It's an area that's constantly evolving, even dating back to a French nobleman in the 1600s who wanted to better predict his gambling habit. He wanted to know what his chances were of rolling a 6 in a certain sequence. Well, the mathematicians that actually helped him by demonstrating that a mathematical probability could actually be determined ended up triggering a revolution in the development of probability theories across Europe, which led to them applying their findings to calculate life expectancy, which eventually led to the development of life insurance. So in a way, they were predicting the future. And arguably it is no different today, except that the tools we use today are even more adept. But we need, as you said, we need people to create and to refine and employ these tools.
And while the commissioner and I, we both came from backgrounds as lawyers, and that's how we came to the DOI, there's so many other paths that you can take. There are so many different opportunities in insurance. You can be a regulator in an insurance department like we are, and there's an insurance department in every state. You can work at an insurance company or an insurance agency. You can work at a company that provides insurance-related services, like helping with the administration of claims. And there's so many different roles, even within those different organizations. Let's say you like working with people. You can be in a consumer services role, or you can be in a sales role. If your interests are in IT, there are all sorts of opportunities, everything from working the help desk to programming to data analytics. You could be an investigator, an accountant, an actuary, a lawyer, a data scientist, a claims adjuster, the list goes on. And there's no specific path or educational path that you need to take. You can have a background in business management. You can study math, history, climate science. You can work your way up from the mailroom to being a research assistant to an examiner, on and on. There's really something for everyone. So, Commissioner, why do you think they should get involved now?
Yeah, why now? Well, I think, like I mentioned earlier, Rachel, I think, as I said, insurance has been around for hundreds of years and it's not going anywhere. So there's a certain stability to it. But there is a lot about insurance that we need to tweak. There are communities that are underserved and countries that are just now developing. Commissioner Mays and I have had the opportunity to serve with international responsibilities, and it's allowed the two of us a view into how we create consistency in regulation across the globe and operations on the company's side, how we create consistency there. And also how we can expand the reach of insurance to protect people who right now are not protected. So like you said, Rachel, I think there are a multitude of opportunities and really a global marketplace just waiting for those who want to grab those opportunities.
Yeah, I mean, while I never thought about as a career path in insurance, I'm really glad that it's the path that I'm on. And I do hope that other people consider it too.
Yeah, I could not agree more. Not only do I get to learn something new every single day, but I do feel the work of insurance is mission driven. There's an incredible amount of satisfaction that I derive from knowing that we are a part of something that makes communities, states, nations stronger and more resilient. So with that, Rachel, maybe I'll take the opportunity for the two of us to thank, again, Commissioner Mays, the Connecticut Department, for all the work that they've done to put events like this together to sing the praises of the work in the insurance sector and the hope that others will join us in this work. So thanks again.
Hello, my name is Misal Panchal. First of all, I would like to thank the Metro Hartford Alliance and Commissioner Mays for this opportunity to share a few thoughts with you. I would also like to thank all of you for being a part of this great event. I have been with the Connecticut Insurance Department for just over 7 years now. I currently am a first-level supervising examiner, reviewing quarterly, annual, and holding company analysis and transactions of a variety of different insurers, including PNC, life and health, and HMOs, and overall complex insurance groups. So I started at the department as an accounting careers trainee, receiving introductory training on state-based insurance regulation. I also obtained a very strong understanding of statutory accounting principles. So, statutory accounting principles, or SAP, as we like to call them, are a set of accounting rules and standards set forth by the National Association of Insurance Commissioners, or the NAIC, and that the insurance companies follow in preparation of their financial statements. Prior to joining the department, I had absolutely no experience in insurance. While that made it very challenging for me, it has definitely been very worth it. As a regulator working in insurance, what I love most is the fact that I'm contributing directly to the department's main mission, which is the protection of policyholders. I also get the opportunity to learn how macroeconomic factors and other industry trends continue to impact insurance company operations. For example, the current very high inflation environment, coupled with lags in supply chains, are having a significant impact on the P&C industry, especially auto insurance. And prior to that, as we all know, the broad shutdowns and market volatility caused by the COVID-19 pandemic had a significant operational impact on all insurance companies. Therefore, as regulators, we are tasked with assessing how these issues, along with others, cause movements in various risks that insurance companies face. The high inflation and supply chain issues that we just spoke about point towards pricing and underwriting risk. As companies face very high expenses and even very high losses in many cases. Similarly, the COVID-19 disruption that we highlighted causes significant market and operational risk. So now I just want to, put myself in the shoes of someone working within an insurance company itself and within the insurance industry. That would be highly beneficial as well, as I would get the chance to learn about and utilize the newest technologies. Some examples of these are predictive and data analytics, artificial intelligence, machine learning, blockchain, and telematics, just to name a few. Along with getting exposure to these items and these new issues, I would also have the option to work within a variety of different areas within the company, such as underwriting, sales, finance, risk management, actuarial, and investment management, just to name a few. So, therefore, I would, strongly urge all of you to keep insurance in mind as you move forward with your education and eventually look for open positions. Insurance is a type of industry that you would be able to get into virtually with any educational background. Some professional designations that you may already be planning to pursue, like the CPA or CFA, they're highly sought out by insurance companies and by regulators. You would also have the option to pursue a variety of different insurance-related designations. Some examples of these are the CLU, or Chartered Life Underwriter, CPCU, or Chartered Property Casualty Underwriter, and ARM, or Associate in Risk Management. If you work as a regulator, on the other hand, you would have the option to pursue NAIC designations like the APIR, or Associate Professional in Insurance Regulation. So just to conclude, I would like to once again thank all of you for your time and for listening to me. Pursuing designations and attending events like these will give you the opportunity to learn, new topics and meet new individuals with a variety of different backgrounds. Therefore, I definitely encourage you to keep doing so. I wish you all the best going forward. Thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Maureen Bowman, and I am so excited to get to connect with you today, especially to get to discuss just how enriching and rewarding a career in insurance can be. So today I serve as an international business development lead at Travelers Insurance. I get to work with world-class colleagues here in Connecticut, as well as across the United States, Canada, Ireland, and the UK. However, had you asked me 20 years ago where I would be today, insurance executive, living in Connecticut, traveling abroad for work, was well down the list of likely outcomes. I mentioned 20 years because that is when I first decided insurance was a path to pursue. You will hear lots of career stories about people who fell into insurance, or insurance was the family business. However, I actually chose to study risk management and insurance at university. See, prior to my junior year, the university required us to apply for and rank our business specialization. I was going in thinking finance. However, as I went through the diligence to learn about all the majors, I kept getting pulled back to insurance. And here's why. First, I love puzzles. And an insurance contract for me really is a puzzle. You see, if something's written in the contract as an exclusion, that typically means it's covered somewhere else. And finding that out and doing the risk assessment and understanding how my contract applies to the risk really is a fun puzzle to solve. I'm also numbers minded. See, insurance is an integral part of the financial sector and the economy. And that means numbers, whether that's financials or metrics, are really important. Ultimately, of course, the insurance industry is here to make people whole when they have a loss. That means there's a theme of community and humanity at the core of this industry. I thought that was really important as well. And so I selected to learn about risk management and insurance and have not looked back. In the 18 years that I have been in this industry, I have gotten to do so much. I started in college working at an agency, which, yes, meant I was doing lots of filing, but it also meant I got to work with customers. I joined Travelers right after school as a financial institution, directors and officers underwriter. I loved this job, and here's why. I got to do so much. I got to become an expert in management liability insurance, which means I was analyzing business owners, their financial acumen, the decisions they were making, their character. It also meant I got to learn a ton about the financial insurance or the financial institution industry. I was able to flex my relationship management skills, my sales skills, analytics, financial acumen, all at the same time. I was also supported by training and mentorship. At that time, I decided I would spend a few years with a carrier, maybe go work at a broker, maybe go work at a regular, basically spend my 20s in a lot of different parts of the insurance industry. What I realized, though, is working at a carrier gave me all sorts of options. And so when I decided to leave underwriting, I moved to Connecticut for a finance leadership development program. In that program, I was able to work in claim, in actuarial, in investor relations. I literally went from analyzing directors and officers to working beside them. In the 8 years I was in finance, I spent most of my time doing planning, forecasting, competitor analysis. And my underwriting background was a big part of the analysis I did. Then the opportunity came to join the international division. In that area, I've been able to stretch my muscles on strategy, innovation, customer experience, and business development. What I've learned since then is that the insurance industry is limitless, really. I went through my background in detail, but I also want to tell you about my husband, who also is in the insurance industry. Prior to moving to Connecticut, he worked for a land management company. He has 2 degrees in geography. And when we moved here to Connecticut, he found a home at a carrier in insurance. He started in environmental claims. He then moved to portfolio underwriting, and now is doing data and analytics, specifically geospatial research and delivery. The insurance industry has this reputation for learning and development. It's proven stability, and it has an eye toward innovation. It is dynamic, it is diverse, and it is always evolving. Insurance really is a great place to build your career. I'm going to give you a few more reasons. One, there is tons of opportunity. The insurance industry is changing to meet the challenges and opportunities presented by technology, and innovation will propel this industry forward. Think big data, predictive analytics, artificial intelligence, and more. There's real impact. When you think about wildfires and ice storms, concerns about extreme weather are universal, and insurers must be ready to deal with the impact of earthquakes, floods, hail, hurricanes, thunderstorms, tornadoes, wildfires, and winter storms. It's challenging. Business owners have a lot on their mind. Each day can bring new challenges, such as cybersecurity, driver and fleet safety, product and services liability, supply chain interruption, workplace safety, facilities and construction sites, cargo shipping, energy costs, and more. It's up to this industry to provide coverage for all the possible mishaps. And it's meaningful. Insurance can be an intimate business. We learn about people's losses and help alleviate their fears. It has been such a privilege to join you today and share about my experience in the industry. Hopefully, through my experience and perspective, you gain a broader understanding of the possibilities.
Hi, my name is Kristen Campanelli. I'm the Assistant Deputy Commissioner of Government Relations at the Connecticut Insurance Department. I'm also the Chief Inclusion Officer. I first got interested in the insurance industry back in 2014. The Affordable Care Act had just passed, and when I graduated from law school, I graduated in the middle of an economic downturn, and I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do with myself. So I kind of landed at a bunch of state agencies. And in 2014, with the ACA happening, there was some buzz. It was exciting. So I applied for a job at the Connecticut Insurance Department, and I started working. And I was like, well, I don't know if insurance is for me. But after my first week, I was hooked. It was awesome. It was so exciting. It was a rapidly changing environment. It was really great. And I have loved every single day of my work in this field since then. And I'm excited to be part of NextGen because I want to be able to help all of you get to be part of something that's that exciting and get to be part of an industry that's stable, that has really great jobs that pay really great salaries and have really great working environments. Insurance is really a great field to be in, and I hope that I've sparked some passion in all of you. Today, we have some great speakers that are here to talk to you today about the educational pathways toward to get into the insurance industry. Today, we have joining us Don Bell, the Assistant Director at the Center for Career Development for UConn School of Law. We have Mick Matviachuk, the Assistant Director of Assessment and Technology, Data Analytics at the Business Career Development Office of UConn School of Business, and Kathy Hendrickson, Director of the Business Career Development Office at UConn School of Business, and Caitlin Speaker. She is the Program Coordinator of MS FinTech, University of Connecticut School of Business. They are here to talk to us today about 3 topics. They're going to discuss what majors are a good foundation for insurance careers. They're going to explain why your major doesn't need to dictate your entire career path and why it's totally okay to be undecided. And they're going to talk about the benefits of internships and networking. So thank you all very much for joining us today. And Don, Mick, Kathy, and Caitlin, take it away.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Don Bell, and I currently serve as Assistant Director for Career Development at the University of Connecticut School of Law. I'm a 2013 grad of the law school, and today I'm here to talk to you about educational paths in insurance. I started out knowing that I wanted to be in public service, and I had no idea what that meant until I got to law school. And when in law school, I took every opportunity I could to gain some kind of work experience. And it led to a number of different wonderful opportunities as a legal intern while I was in law school. One of the experiences included working at the Hartford, doing business insurance compliance for a semester. And I found the work to be interesting at first, although I ended up doing a different path, working on Capitol Hill and working in policy. I know firsthand that there are a number of different opportunities in insurance law for students who are interested in learning more about that path or pursuing it. So I think the first question would be, where does someone start? The first step can often be the most overwhelming for a student, and that's no different for a law student. So our office, the Center for Career Development, is here to be helpful in any way we can to, one, show students what some of the opportunities are in a variety of different subject areas or practice areas, including insurance. So we bring in employers to talk about their day-to-day, what the application process may look like for both internships and post-grad jobs. And we also work directly with students to develop an individualized plan, not just for when they're in law school, but for the first few years after law school. And so for someone who is a law student, is interested in insurance, what I would say to them is come to our office, talk to us about what your interests are. We can help connect you with alums who are in the insurance space. We can give you information on when information sessions will happen about careers in insurance law, and also keep you up to date on any OCI or on-campus interview opportunities that happen over the course of the academic year to allow students to do a summer internship. I think the other thing, once you go through that process and you start a job in insurance, say you're working at the Hartford or another company, is that you are there to gain experience. And so in your first opportunity with an insurance law organization, you're not going to get everything perfect. There will be a lot to learn. That's why mentorship is very important. Being willing to take on any task is important. And really just being as intellectually curious as you can so that you can get a sense of what a career in insurance law might be. I think the other thing that students frequently forget, especially when they first start in law school, is that you may mention being interested in a space like insurance law, but once you actually dive into what that means, you can be in a variety of different settings. So you could do litigation, you could be in torts, you could be dealing with employment or contract law, you could be dealing with healthcare, environmental law, and a myriad of other practice areas within the practice area of insurance law. And so there are a number of different opportunities available to students if they are interested in doing experiential learning to get a sense of what it is to be in insurance law. Academically, there are a number of opportunities as well. And I'm speaking specifically about UConn Law here, but other schools may have similar programs or may not have these programs at all. Obviously, Hartford is the insurance capital of the world. And so there are a number of different offerings that UConn Law provides to students who are interested in insurance law. One of them is an LLM in insurance law. So a number of individuals end up taking this every year. This could be something that's done after you complete your JD program. It could be something that if you're an international student and you have a law degree from somewhere else, you could come to UConn Law and essentially do the LLM program to gain more experience in insurance law. For JD students, so students who are here for the 3-year full-time or 4-year part-time program, there are a couple of certificates that you can earn. One of them is relatively new, a certificate in corporate and regulatory compliance. The other is a long-standing certificate program and has been something that many students have taken advantage of over the years, and that is the Insurance Law and Regulation Certificate. Essentially for that, you would need to express an interest in getting the certificate along with your JD, and then take a certain number of courses that are targeted in the space in order for you to gain the academic expertise to receive the certificate when you graduate. And speaking of graduation, when students are getting to their last year of law school and thinking about what that future looks like, there are a lot of nerves for them. And in our office, the Center for Career Development, we do a lot in the 2 or 3 years before that last year of law school to prepare students for the application process for post-grad jobs, obviously putting them in positions to gain experience so that they are the most competitive candidates possible when they are applying, and then helping them in a variety of different ways apply and hopefully get that job that they're looking for post-grad. And so the transition can be difficult, especially since at the end of law school, most students end up taking 2 months to study for the bar exam that happens in July and February. But I think that there are a couple of tips to help that student transition. I think first, it's starting to rely on your networks while you're in law school and getting toward the end of your time in law school. What does that mean? For all of the internships that you've taken on over your time in law school, the people that you've met, maybe at the Connecticut Bar Association, the Hartford County Bar, the Fairfield Bar, wherever it is, letting them know that you are about to graduate, that you're interested in insurance law, and that if they have anyone that they could connect you with to share your passion of insurance law with, that would be something you would greatly appreciate. Leveraging the network allows for other people to know that you're looking and share opportunities with you that you may not otherwise see. The network is going to become more important the further along you go in law school. And so it's really important for you, especially in that last year, to organize the contact list that you've developed and start reaching out to those individuals. In addition, organizing your job search is a very important stress reliever and tool for finding success in the job search as well. What I recommend to students is that they develop a spreadsheet with all of the opportunities that they're interested in applying to, with the name of the employer, the application materials that are required, which is also helpful to show you what amount of time you may need to spend in an application, the application deadline, of course, and the contact information for the person who is managing the hiring process there in case you have questions. May also be helpful to have another column that states the last action that you took and when, just so that you are holding yourself accountable and you know exactly when you took action on a given application or how long it's been since you've heard something from an employer. And I think once you transition into that professional position, it's really just working to be as excellent as you can at your craft. It is taking every opportunity you can to learn, get professional development, meet people, learn from their experiences, and continue working hard to make sure that you are on top of any changes that happen within the whatever practice it is, but here, the insurance law space. And then finally, what is it about insurance? There are a lot of students each year who are interested in insurance and end up doing something related to insurance law after they graduate from law school. I think it's a couple of things. First, I think, again, Hartford is the insurance capital of the world, so there are many opportunities that are available. But probably more important is what I said earlier, the breadth of opportunities within insurance law is dramatic. Again, from torts to environmental law, healthcare, employment or contract law, litigation. Maybe you're dealing with something that's on the transactional side or assisting other divisions of a company with something that's on the transactional side. There are many, many different ways that you can get involved in insurance and grapple with some of the chief legal and policy challenges that this country faces currently. And so there are many opportunities available to someone who's interested in insurance. There are many different educational paths, both in getting practical experience and the academic knowledge. And here at UConn Law, my office is here to be helpful in any way that we can. And so if you are interested in learning more about insurance law opportunities at UConn Law, you can email me at donald.bell@uconn.edu. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. It's my pleasure to moderate our session on education paths for navigating your journey from academics to a career in the insurance industry. As you think about your career path, we're here to offer some insights on how to align your passion and interests with the many unique roles in the insurance industry. I'm Kathy Hendrickson. I'm the director of the UConn School of Business Career Development Office. And part of my mission to students is to bring joy into the career search. So we're going to give you some insight here today to help you with that. I want you to think about what you know about the insurance industry right now and realize that there are jobs that exist today that did not exist 2 years ago. There are so many opportunities that are opening up. It's exciting to look at this as a future path. So this segment is actually a snapshot of the journey from academics to graduation. We'll present the point of view from career development, analytics, and we have 2 UConn alumni joining us who are also professionals in the insurance industry. Your career exploration starts as early as high school, and you'll find that meeting with community leaders and peers about their first jobs after college will help to see you a path that might open up some interesting areas. UConn partners with highly successful programs such as Traveler's Edge, which is a program that's been around since about 2007. And it's a holistic approach to college and career readiness for underrepresented students. So that's one example of community engagement. The connections you make in college are going to set the framework for you for next steps to be business professionals in all of the areas. So to start us off, Mick is going to share some examples of some of the really cool jobs that our students have landed over the last several years in the insurance industry. And then we have Leah, who is going to walk us through a complete career change that she did in auditing insurance companies to actually recruiting for them, and all as a UConn alum. And then Mark's going to bring it home for us as a UConn alumni, the manager of the university recruiting team at an insurance company, and the person that I reach out to quite often, I have to tell you, to help students see the joy and the excitement of working in this industry. So I'm going to take a step back and put myself on mute, and Mick, why don't you take us from there?
Absolutely. Thank you, Kathy, for that wonderful introduction, and welcome students and another great opportunity here to learn further on NextGen Career Academy. I'd like to give you a little bit of insight in analytics. Again, my name is Mick Montfetrick. I work with the School of Business in the Career Development Office space. And a lot of my focus area is where the jobs are for students when it comes to internships as well as full-time jobs. And better believe that this industry, being in insurance, has a plethora of opportunities and different pathways and segues that you can take to great careers for the next 30 years here in the Connecticut market and also throughout the United States. Some of the programs that many of our UConn fellow Huskies, as well as other students throughout the state that have been hired by great leading industry insurers, have been programs in data analytics, operations, underwriting, including even sales, but also in a growing segment in the technology space for tech LDP programs, early career training programs, and rotational programs that are honed in for internships, but also for full-time opportunities. These are some great, exciting, career paths that you may have in the near future. Hopefully, if you decide to explore, and I hope you do, because we have two great representatives here today, Leah De Lorenzo and Mark Turek, that could also give you insight about ways that you can explore the potential option of being part of the industry and the insurance space, including shadowing opportunities early on in your career to really start that process to know, is this potentially the right fit for me? Do I see myself having a future in this industry? Because the future is absolutely now. It's one of the strongest times in the market where we're seeing actually a population of retirees moving out of the industry and creating new space as well in the industry. So over 500,000 folks will be retiring within the next few years from the insurance sector, according to the Federal Department of Labor and their statistics. So I want you to know that that is a great opportunity for you to learn about the potential key roles, as well as how to get involved from these two folks here today, Mark Turek and Leah De Lorenzo. So at this point, I'd like to transition to Mark. Please feel free to to Leah rather, and take it away.
Sure. Awesome.
Sure is a quick session, isn't it?
All right, Mick and Kathy, thank you for having us. As both Mick and Kathy have mentioned, my name is Leah De Lorenzo. I work at the Hartford. I've been here for a little over a year now, and I'm a recruiter on the university relations team. I recruit for quite a few different roles, specifically within the areas of underwriting, a couple of our leadership development rotational programs, such as finance, marketing, and product, claims, a bunch of other roles here that we have at the Hartford. So my career journey is anything but linear. I actually, as Kathy had mentioned earlier, I'm a UConn alumni. I was a accounting degree when I was at UConn, a School of Business alumni. So I love coming back and recruiting students from there. But I actually started my career at one of the big four firms as an auditor, working in the financial services department. So I was recruiting for insurance companies. I quickly realized that accounting wasn't necessarily the field I wanted to stay in forever. And I leveraged the knowledge that I had of the industry to transition my career into a more social environment, and I became a recruiter. I worked at a staffing agency for a bit and then transitioned over to corporate recruiting, worked in the insurance industry, built an internship program from the ground up, and eventually landed myself at the Hartford, and have been here and loved it ever since. So anything else you want me to touch on before I pass it over to Mark?
No, I think that's a great transition, because what you did is you just showed us, all different options, but, it's exciting to see the different paths that you can take.
Definitely.
All right, Mark.
My turn.
Thanks, Leah.
Hi, everybody. Thank you, Kathy. Thank you, Mick. So my name is Mark Turek. I am the manager of university relations here at the Hartford. I've been working for this wonderful company for just about 9 years now, 7 of which I've spent in the early career space, building strategies, recruiting students, building on-campus relationships, working very closely with Kathy and Mick and others at the University of Connecticut to create pathways into an industry that is part of the fabric of the state of Connecticut. Hartford was once known as the insurance capital of the world. I still think it is to some degree. But part of what we do in our role here as recruiters and relationship builders out on campus is to create interest in an industry that might not be on the top of the list for current college students, and showing them different opportunities that exist in this industry, that exist in others that might be very highly sought after, and opening those doors to those students to bring them into our world and show them the wonderful, long, stable careers that they can have at a company that's been open for 2 centuries, like the Hartford, and in an industry that's been around for as long as anybody could probably remember, right? So I'm a UConn alum, as well, as Kathy mentioned before. I'm actually a 2004 graduate of the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences. So I'm a little bit of a different one, right? One of the things that I love getting on campus and talking about is taking a liberal arts degree and shifting it into a business-oriented career in our world, and bringing students through my journey to get to this point. I was an economics major. Some of the resources that we had in that world aren't the same as what Leah experienced as an accounting major at UConn, with the influx of Big 4 companies on campus and opportunities that are essentially put out on a silver platter for college students. So us liberal arts students need to kind of claw our way into some different opportunities, and use some roundabout ways to get ourselves to our ultimate goal of getting into the corporate world and getting into a position like I've had the joy of having over the last 15 years of my career as a recruiter and now recruiting manager. So that's a little bit about me. I'm excited to talk a little bit more about some of those opportunities a little later in the conversation. So I'll kick it back over to you, Kathy.
Thanks, Mark. Thanks, Leah. And thanks, Mick. I mean, this is just part of an overall session that they're hosting today. And what I loved about the ability that we were able to talk about the education path is, we've shown with Leah and Mark, you can take very different experiences to get from college to career. And in the insurance industry, in data analytics, in human resources, in marketing, in all of the different areas, they're really interesting roles that are going to they're going to teach you and show you the excitement of the industry. So we encourage all of you to pay attention to those roles and think about any kind of questions that we can help you with. I think we have 1 minute left. Last thoughts, Mark, on what you see students having the most fun with?
So Mick mentioned before data and analytics. I think some of the most fascinating work that I've seen in our world is in data modeling and consuming the amount of data that is available in the insurance world. I mean, I mentioned we're a 210-year-old company. We go back to the time when data was probably recorded on scrolls with feather pens, right? And now we're at a point where we're using things like, big data tools like Hadoop and Apache and other things like that to do some pretty insane modeling. We can even trickle into the world that Leah lives in her recruitment expertise in underwriting, and think about things like kidnap and ransom insurance, credit and political risk insurance, executive liability, and some of these very, very specialized policies that exist out there. oftentimes the stereotype that we're trying to get past is it's not just auto and homeowners insurance. It's not necessarily, there are transactional products in our industry, but there are extremely specialized products that require some heavy product management, price modeling, and profit and loss management, a lot of marketing and branding. There is a DE&I arm to that and a social responsibility arm to that recruitment aspect of getting out into the community and understanding the customers that we're supporting. There is, pulling in all of the data. How do we create better products to better serve those customers? How can we react in times of need? We hear all about Hurricane Ian and how that has impacted Florida. How do we get down there with our customers? We have mobile response unit. We have all of these aspects that when we open the door to what our company and our industry is all about to students, it's eye-opening moment after eye-opening moment that they don't realize. And we hear this from our interns all the time. I never would have thought as a marketing student coming into an insurance company, I'd be working on what I would be working on this summer. I thought I would just be talking to customers about buying policies with us. Meanwhile, they're working on analytics and other things like that. So if there's one thing I can say to students who are thinking about where they want to go afterwards, don't forget about the insurance industry. Ask questions, talk to people like me and Leah, do your research, because I can guarantee you the things that you're looking for exist in our world. And you can have a very, very long-standing, stable career in this industry that's never going to go away. So if you're going to take anything from this conversation, I would leave you with that.
I couldn't think of a better way to end this segment. So we appreciate all of you. Thank you so much for joining us. And this is the beginning of a conversation for any students that are interested in learning more about the industry. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. It is a pleasure to be speaking with you today at the Connecticut Insurance Department's NextGen Career Academy Conference. I look forward to engaging with you to talk a bit about educational paths to the insurance industry and some best practices for success. So my name is Caitlin Speaker, and I work as the program coordinator for the Masters in Financial Technology program at the University of Connecticut. I was brought on to help facilitate the launch of this innovative and cutting-edge program, and my role consists mainly of working with university leadership for overall strategic development and growth of the program, along with our robust industry engagement initiatives. In addition, I oversee all things admissions and recruitment, program level marketing, student services, and experiential opportunities. A little bit more about myself. I've been working in higher education for around 5 years now, and my background mainly consists of ecosystem building in a variety of different industries, including affordable housing, community engagement, and now fintech and insurtech. So what has brought me here today is UConn's fintech program. The University of Connecticut offers a robust master's degree as well as an advanced business certificate in fintech. The 36 credit master's program, along with the 12 credit certificate, consists mainly of a mix of analytics, technology, and business courses, and is intended to prepare a student for entry into the world of financial services technology. So UConn, as one of the economic engines of the state, has launched this program as a result of remaining in constant communication with industry to seek out demand for talent and how to make students as competitive as possible when entering into the workforce. So this program has remained in constant involvement and communication with the insurance industry specifically to inform our talent building initiatives and engage with experts. And through this work specifically, it's really how I'd like to engage with this presentation on speaking about educational paths to insurance. So there are many ways in which you can get started in your professional journey. And you'll hear a lot of information from experts in their fields during this event that will really help you navigate making the transition from a student into a working professional. And as you've most likely gathered, the scope of the insurance industry goes far beyond the typical roles you'd imagine. And that means there is a lot of opportunity for a variety of interests and skill sets. But that also means there might be it's more challenging to know where to begin. Right, so today I'd like to discuss ways in which a student or young professional can leverage their skills, talent, and interests to break into this industry. So leveraging both my personal and professional experiences, navigating this process myself, and working closely with the insurance industry is really how I'd like to start. So the first step when looking into any career path is to really understand the ecosystem. In this case, what does the insurance industry look like today compared to just 5 years ago, 20 years ago? What shifts are taking place that are important to consider? And how do trends play a role in what your experience can look like? The next is, what is a company looking for in terms of talent in order to be successful and respond to these trends? And what specifically are they doing to attract and retain this talent? Looking at a company's engagement priorities is a really good way to learn more about their priorities for hiring and for long-term success. And then once you're working in the field, may that be an internship or you're just starting off in your career, obtain as many experiential learning opportunities as possible. Learn from your colleagues, obtain new skills, and apply that learning that you did in the classroom into practical applications as much as possible. Also, consider professional development and continued education. So in this fast-paced industry like insurance and insurtech, this is a great way to keep up with the trends in a way that is thoughtful, calculated, and measurable, right? And then lastly, through all of these practices, speak to who's in the room with you. Network with those around you and leverage the knowledge and connections that come with those conversations. So to jump right into it, in order to get started and how to understand and navigate the insurance landscape, it's important to understand the ecosystem that is developing at a rapid pace and what that means for insurance companies across the board. So the continued incorporation of technology into all of these industries on this slide, and what that means, right? So in part, events like this conference are a great place to start. They allow you to get on board and get a broad overview of opportunities and educate yourself further on the direction of this ecosystem and what talent is in high demand. So at UConn specifically, we are looking at InsurTech as part of this larger ecosystem that, in addition to traditional finance applications, can include insurance technology, regulatory technology, medical technology, and even prop tech, right? That real estate technology. So what is important here is learning how to understand and obtain a knowledge base that can be applied to a multitude of disciplines. The main takeaway from this is that digital acceleration is well underway in the insurance industry and in all of these industries. And there's a high demand and expectation to adopt technologies that allow for a quality customer experience without sacrificing things like security or efficiency. So through my work and what we've seen is a large gap in industry talent in this space. A competitive candidate to an employer in the fintech and insurtech sectors is an individual that has the ability to understand and speak both business and technology languages. So no matter what background a student is coming from, whether that be a quantitative background, business, legal, social science, engineering, it's really important to adopt an entrepreneurial mindset and be prepared and willing to understand these rapidly evolving trends. So if you have an interest in obtaining a knowledge base in both business and technology aspects of an operation, you will be an invaluable asset to the world of insurance. An individual, we like to say, and we hear this all the time, who can not only code, but knows how to apply that code to address challenges, reduce friction, and increase productivity and transparency, that's what the industry is looking for. So understanding these gaps in industry talent will be critical to demonstrating your ability to contribute effectively to the ecosystem. So now we know a little bit more about what companies are looking for in terms of talent in order to be successful and respond to these trends. But the next question is, as an individual starting to look for work in the insurance field, what specifically are companies doing to attract and retain this talent? So looking at a company's engagement in this way is a good way to learn more about their priorities, especially for hiring. So we know that having an entrepreneurial mindset is very strategic in this business. Entrepreneurship encompasses drive and innovation that affects positive change. So how are companies encouraging this and fostering this type of thinking? How are they working to create an environment that encourages and challenges employees really to the type of thinking and provide a safe and supportive environment for ideas to grow? I really stress this because the insurance industry has one of the most tenured workforces. Individuals that begin their career in insurance tend to remain working there for decades. But most people may not have started out in the role they're in today, or even the role that they wanted. They've had a journey of growth within their own company or industry as a whole that has allowed them to acquire various skill sets and achieve their goals. So as the next generation of students looking to really get started in this industry, it's important to pay close attention and ask those questions to potential employers at the outset. For example, you can ask, when starting out in a specific position, what is the potential for either lateral or upward movement in your organization? So a question like that will give you a better understanding of the wide variety of opportunities within this sector and how you can navigate your growth for your own potential for years to come. So once you're working in the field, whether that be an internship or you're just starting off in your career, obtain as many experiential learning opportunities as possible. Learn from your colleagues, try to obtain those skills into practical applications. So in my experience working for UConn at the Graduate Business School and admissions specifically for FinTech, I see firsthand the variety of students that are looking to obtain a knowledge base in this discipline. So whether they're an undergraduate looking to obtain an advanced degree while they're getting into the workforce, or they've been working in industry for 5 to 15 years and are looking to leverage up and remain competitive in the marketplace. So professional development doesn't stop, right? It can take on many forms, such as a master's degree or workshops, data challenges, pitch events, speaker series, right? So this is a great way to learn more about the trends and work being done from both the local and international insurance ecosystems. So I would really strongly recommend to consider professional development and continued education. In a fast-paced industry like insurance, this is a great way to keep up with the trends in a way that's thoughtful, calculated, and measurable. Also, it's a great way to network and build meaningful conversations from any connections that you make. And lastly, through my work, I interact and converse with many finance and insurance companies. And I reached out to some specifically for this event, some of our partners, and I asked them a very pointed question. What top skills are you looking for in industry talent? Quite frankly, what do you need? I wanted to share some of these top responses. So the first one, and we hear this very often, is that many insurance companies are facing retirement for many of their technology staff members. So the challenge is that many of these companies, they run old technology platforms that the younger generations are just not trained on. So the industry needs people who are adaptable and can work between the older and current technologies. And they need people who can quickly learn the complexities of the insurance industry to effectively support the business. Also, they need people who are skilled in data and analytics and cloud native technologies who can really help lead the migrations of on-premises legacy applications into the cloud. And this quote was too good not to share, talking about FinTech as plumbing in your house, how it's working behind the scenes, all these moving parts, and being able to understand all these moving parts is going to be key for success from a hiring standpoint, right? So back to that point on the importance of understanding the complexities of the industry and how to navigate it appropriately. And of course, some of this is, being able to learn on the job, right? And being able to demonstrate during the hiring process that you're a quick learn and a quick study, and you're going to be able to navigate this accordingly. And the way to, do that is through all of the best practices that were mentioned. So I hope in sharing these insights, it will provide students with ideas about how to further refine their knowledge base and skill sets and help inform their narrative as they begin interviews with companies that are looking for this talent, as it's always important to be able to market yourself and tell your story and really demonstrate your value in an organization. So thank you very much to NextGen for inviting me to speak to this audience of entrepreneurs looking to begin their career in insurance. I would be happy to connect with anyone further to discuss their own circumstances and how they can effectively utilize their skills to be successful. So thanks again.
Welcome to session 3, Career Buffet. I am Michelle Deichman, Head of Property and Casualty HR and Workforce Analytics at the Hartford. So here's your chance to try on a bit of everything. Fill up your plate with a taste of what insurance has to offer. We have many jobs in insurance that fall under career paths that you might not even realize exist. And we want to highlight a few of those areas for you today. Hear from different perspectives on career options in the industry and find opportunities that suit your skills and interests. We have a number of great speakers today, including for the first part, Jelani Fenton, who is the founder and CEO of Safari. The next part, you'll hear from Stacy Brown, Head of Global Technology and Innovation at AXA XL and founder of InsurTech Hartford. We also have Myra Brown, Marketing Associate for InsurTech Hartford for that part 2. Part 3, you'll hear from Sarah Dillingham, Senior Meteorologist and Senior Director of Product Development at Insurance Institute for Business and Home Security. And then we'll close with part 4, and you'll hear from Gillian McCrone, HR Generalist, and Gretchen Carlson, HR Specialist at Nassau Financial Group. Thank you so much for joining us and enjoy the rest of your event.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jelani Fenton, and I'm the founder and CEO of Safari, and we are the tour guide for insurance talent. So before we start, I just want to encourage everyone watching this video to really think deeply about what the first thing that comes to mind is when you think about working in the insurance industry. So it's all right if the first word that comes to mind is boring, because that's what a lot of people think about our industry. But unfortunately, what many people don't realize is that insurance touches every single part of our lives. So without the insurance industry, you likely wouldn't be able to drive to your local grocery store or take out deposits from a bank. And we likely wouldn't be on this call right now if not for the insurance industry, because there is risk in everything that happens in our country today, and in every business that operates, and in everything that we do as a society. So that's me. I'm the founder and CEO, as I mentioned before, of Safari. And our mission is to really recruit the next generation of talent into the insurance industry. So we work with a variety of different insurance companies to help them create early careers talent programs for their organizations, with a particular focus on helping them recruit more diverse talent into their organizations. So I've had the opportunity to work in this industry for the past 9 years in a variety of roles, including as an insurance broker, as an investment banker, covering insurance companies and helping them raise capital, as well as do mergers and acquisitions. And I've also worked at an insurance technology company that created a product that essentially allowed renters to, as opposed to having to go out and put down thousands of dollars for a security deposit, we were actually able to allow them to purchase an insurance product that would allow them to keep that cash in their pocket. So as you see, there are a lot of different career paths that you can take in the insurance industry, which is why it's such an exciting industry to start your career in. So, I think it's really important to kind of help dispel some of the preconceived notions that everyone has about the insurance industry, kind of talk a little bit more about my experience. So I've worked in the insurance industry for the past 9 years, as I said before, and I've never sold a policy before. I've had the opportunity to work with companies such as the NFL and Amazon, as well as to work with one of the companies that is really kind of pioneering the space of NFTs around the work that they're doing with their insurance programs. So during my work with the NFL, we helped them create an insurance program to protect their players, workers, their brand, and any fans who attended their game. So, again, everything associated with going to an NFL game, operating a company, operating a team involves risk. And they needed an insurance broker in order to be able to figure out how to best structure their insurance program. So they hired my company to be able to do that. And then separately for Amazon, we actually had the opportunity to work on a transaction that allowed every seller on their website to be able to get insurance for any of the products that they sold. So, we were really kind of helping out the whole ecosystem of sellers on the Amazon platform to allow them to be protected against financial loss for any of the products that they were selling to their customers. And now, in terms of why insurance is such a great industry, I think it's really important to highlight the social impact of the work that we do as an industry. Because at the end of the day, insurance is a socially impact business. I believe that at the core. But I also think that it allows you to earn a really solid living while doing something that can help people in every day. So as you'll see, climate change is affecting everything that we do as a society. And after natural disasters, the first call that you make is typically to your insurance company after you need your, essentially your home or anything that you own to be rebuilt and to be financed back to you. So the insurance industry actually happens to be one of the largest funders of the clean technology movement. So we're really helping our world make that transition from fossil fuels to cleaner sources of energy that will allow us to protect our planet moving forward. Now, as we kind of think about improving health outcomes, our country / our world were just shut down due to a global health crisis. And the insurance industry was a critical component in this fight against COVID-19, where they expanded coverage and allowed those in need of care to be able to get access to the care that they needed at an affordable price. And as we kind of think about the financially vulnerable that we have in our country, income inequality is becoming more prevalent in our world every single day. Life insurance and financial products are the critical tools that can help families build generational wealth and ultimately close the wealth gap in our country. And lastly, it protects the global economy because there is no bank or financial institution or any company that can operate without insurance providing a backstop against financial loss for their operations. Now, in terms of what you can actually do with a career in insurance, there are a variety of different career paths that you can take. So if you like working with people, you can do what I did and you can work as a broker or an agent. So in this role, you'll work directly with large clients. So you'll help them create a financial strategy to help protect their companies from financial loss associated with their operations. If you like working with numbers and data, and that's what excites you, you can work as an underwriter or an actuary for an insurance company. So in this job, you'll really serve as an important team member to help figure out what the actual cost of risk is and how much a company should be charging their customers based on the actual risk that they're taking on as an insurance company. And lastly, if you're interested in solving hard problems and helping people when they're most in need, the claims field is directly for you. So, as a claims professional, you're really going to be responsible for working on behalf of the insurance company to work directly with folks who might have been impacted, let's say, by a hurricane or a tornado or a wildfire or an earthquake, or maybe a large company that might have had an accident in their workplace. You're really working directly with the people that have been affected by some of these unfortunate situations and essentially helping to allow them to be made financially and economically whole in these situations. So again, this really all ties back to the social impact and the good nature of the work that you're doing within our industry. And I think it's really important to kind of highlight the scale and the variety of different career paths and organizations that you can work with within the insurance industry. So, typically when people hear insurance, they think about the Geico's, Progressives, Allstates, and State Farms of the world, like Jake from State Farm. But, there's a whole universe of other insurance companies out there who have a large need for smart, motivated, and social impact-driven people to come into their organization. So as you'll see, there are over 6,000 insurance companies here in the United States, and ultimately the lives that are impacted by the insurance industry. That is everyone that is on the face of the earth, because we are all impacted in some way, shape, or form by the insurance industry. So you can absolutely have comfort in knowing, particularly with just this movement to help build a better world, that you will be impacting everyone with the work that you do. So in terms of why it's a great time to get into the insurance industry, as you'll see here, the insurance industry has a huge talent shortage right now. So there is a desperate need for young talent to pursue insurance careers, because a lot of the industry is actually hitting retirement age. And the current projections are that there will be anywhere from 400,000 to 500,000 unfilled jobs within our industry over the next 10 to 15 years due to this wave of retirements. So as you'll see here, roughly 50% of our industry is due to reach retirement age in the next 5 to 10 years. And as we kind of think about it, me as the founder of this company, I'm a millennial. And I've been working in this industry for the past 9 years, but we actually represent less than 1/4 of the industry workforce today. So that is ultimately going to lead to a really tough situation that our industry will be in, where there will be a significant amount of unfilled jobs in our industry. So I highly encourage anyone that has an interest in working directly with people, working with numbers, or helping people out where they have a real drive to have impact with the work that they do, to check out the insurance industry, because it's a great opportunity to do extremely interesting work with extremely interesting and thoughtful people. And there's never been a better time to enter our industry right now. So I highly encourage everyone to reach out. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me directly. As you'll see, my contact information is here on the screen, and I would love to chat about how we can be the tour guide for your career. Thank you.
I'm Stacy Brown, and I've been in the insurance industry now for over 20 years. Kind of an interesting story how I started that. I'll get to that in a little bit. But I've always been in the insurance technology side of the house. And over the 20 years, I've had the opportunity to work with a lot of different parts of the business as a technology guy, right? The underwriting side, the claims side, finance, operations, all different parts of the business. So I have had that opportunity to see how it all works. And I'm happy to be here today to give you some insights into what types of careers and things look like inside an insurance company. I also have some experience outside in entrepreneurial land through work that I've done for an organization called InsurTech Hartford. And I'm hoping to share some insights on that for those who might be interested in entrepreneurship.
Hi, I'm Myra, and I am studying accounting and business administration at Manchester Community College, and I've been working with InsurTech Hartford for over the past year.
Great. Well, Myra, over the last year, it's been great working with you. And, what are some of the opportunities that you've had and things that you've seen just, working closely with the insurance industry?
Well, one of the biggest opportunities I'm really thankful for is the traveling aspect. I've gotten to go to Vegas and New York City. When I go to these conferences, my biggest interest is the marketing side. So I like seeing how the different booths are set up, the promotional items that they give out. And one time when I was at one of the booths, there was like a spin the wheel, and I happened to win a Yeti, which was really cool. Also, a really cool part about traveling and going to these conferences is the entertainment. Like last year, when I got to go to ITC Vegas, I got to see Ludacris in concert poolside. So that was really cool.
That is really cool. Definitely cool. So,
and Stacy, with the 20 years in the IT insurance industry, what opportunities have you experienced?
Well, I can talk about that kind of from the two different lenses. One from the corporate side, right? So as I mentioned in my opening comments, 20 years now, I've worked in the industry, and I've had the opportunity to interact and work with many different parts of the business. And, there are jobs in claims and underwriting. And I think those are things that easily come to mind. You don't have to know anything about insurance to know that there's probably jobs in claims and underwriting. But at the end of the day, insurance is really a technology and data-driven industry. Everything we do is based off of data-driven decisions. So there's a lot of functions, not just in technology, but also on the business side. For example, finance, right? Finance relies a lot on data. And there's a lot of different types of roles in finance. And I'm not necessarily an expert on it, but I know that, for example, what a lot of people don't realize is that a big portion of the profits that an insurance company makes is from the investment returns on what they call reserves, which is basically, think of it as like a big savings account for all the future claims that the company expects to pay. And so there's a lot of functions around just investing and managing the investments, moving the money around between the accounts, and there's a lot of portfolio management, portfolio risk management type of functions also that happen in finance. But every insurance company also has a pretty good size operations division. And like the company that I work for right now, more than half the company is just between finance and operations people. So, operations roles, these are the folks that, if everything is tech and data driven, how does that data get into the systems, right? A lot of it is that. And then in terms of making data driven decisions and getting the data out of the systems, that is also where a lot of operations people get involved. Operations people will also help, produce the documents and things like that are necessary when issuing a policy. So there's a lot of different roles within operations itself. So, and then on the legal side, there's a lot of compliance and regulatory matters to be interfacing with folks like the Connecticut Department of Insurance and other regulator bodies. And then some companies are multinational, and that also means that there are opportunities outside of the United States for some of these companies to do some of these functions. But so that's a lot of what I've seen on the corporate side. On the entrepreneur side, there's a whole nother world of opportunities out there. And the entrepreneur side isn't as much in a box, right? So if you enter a corporate role and you're going to enter a finance job, there's going to be a title, there's going to be roles and responsibilities. And you do get that on the entrepreneur side as well, but usually people in startup companies are wearing many hats, right? So your main function might be, as a pricing actuary, but that doesn't mean that you don't help with sales and marketing somehow, or you don't help with, with the technology side of the house, right? That, like, people will tend to have to be more flexible, and those types of environments are usually a lot more fast paced than what you get in the corporate environments. The corporate environments tend to be more governance driven, and I think one of the main reasons for that is, like, when you're a startup, you pretty much have nothing to lose and everything to gain. But once you're like a large insurance company with like billions of dollars of assets, you've got a lot to gain, a lot to lose, and not as much to gain, relatively speaking. So startups take more risks, they move faster. So it kind of depends, which environment is right for people as they're entering the industry. Kind of depends on, how they feel about it and what they're interested in. But, definitely over 20 years, I've seen a lot of change in the industry. The way we do things today is not the same that we used to do things 20 years ago when I started. And again, tech and data keeps having bigger and bigger amounts of influence, and the trends will continue. Now, with all that said, speaking of trends, Myra, I was just curious. So you mentioned that about how you've gotten to go to some of these conferences and travel and stuff. But when you attend these conferences, have you attended any speaking sessions, and do you hear people talking about different trends and things that might be creating opportunities for graduating students in the future?
Yeah, at the conferences, I hear a lot of conversations about climate change, and there's two big things that you gotta think about when dealing with climate change. One of them is how to deal with the current impacts of climate change. So like the storms, the flooding, the droughts that we've been having recently. And the second thing is, what can we do today to minimize future climate change? So for example, reducing carbon footprint. There are many opportunities for everyone in the insurance industry, no matter what your background is or your degree.
Yeah, definitely. Climate is a hot topic in the industry. And I'll expand a little bit on what you were saying there, because somebody might be thinking, well, what does insurance have to do with climate? Well, to the points you were making about how we respond to, storms and floods and fires, like unless you haven't turned on the TV in the last 5 years, you've probably heard a lot about how intensity is increasing on all these things. And so, as I mentioned, the insurance industry is very data driven, right? The decisions we make today are based off historical data. But when that historical data doesn't seem to be holding up as well anymore, people start trying to figure out what that means. So there's a lot of work being done in the industry right now around looking at the models that we rely on and trying to figure out how to account for climate change, because quite frankly, they don't account for climate change today. And definitely we are dealing with the impacts of climate change. And so in order for the insurance industry to exist, it's got to make sure that it's being priced according to the level of risk that exists. So there's, again, a lot of work going in the industry right now to look at how we traditionally underwrite insurance and the trends of what's changing because of climate. And so that definitely is that. Now, on the flip side, Myra, you also mentioned about, what do we do today to minimize the effects of climate change in the future? And the example you gave there was, reducing carbon footprint. And that's a great example. And an example of how insurance contributes to that would be, for example, there are a number of large global carriers who have said, we are no longer going to insure new oil field drilling projects. So what does that mean for the future? Well, if relying less on oil is something we want to do in order to reduce our carbon footprint, this is a very effective measure, because what it essentially means is that the oil, the companies that go out drilling for oil, they have to take more of the risk on themselves. And the way that these kinds of projects work is to finance them, they've got to raise the capital. And if there's more risk involved in the project, then the cost of capital is going to go higher, which now, as the cost of drilling new oil fields increases, it's going to drive people out of drilling these projects. And for those that do, it's going to become more expensive. And all this means that the future of oil prices will continue to increase as availability of new supply goes down and costs of drilling for oil go up. And so that's going to create more incentive for alternate energy for industrial and transportation and the things that we use oil for today. So just by making a policy level decision, like we are not going to insure new drilling projects, insurers are actually making a huge contribution towards the future of reducing CO2 footprint. Sorry if that was kind of a long answer, but I thought it was a good observation that you made, and I just thought to tie that together, right? How insurance and climate change actually fit. And there's a lot of examples, and I won't get into any more of them. But in summary, the insurance industry. I told you I'd tell you my story about how I got in, and pretty much it wasn't something I set out to do. I did not go to school saying I want to be in insurance. And if you talk to 100 people in insurance, 95 of them will probably tell you the same thing. There are those that went to school to be actuaries, or knew that they wanted to work in risk management. So they most likely knew early on that this was the career they wanted. But for the vast majority of people in the industry, it just crosses our path. The .com crash happened in 2001, and I needed a job. So I had a friend that was working for a large carrier, and he said, well, send me your resume. And I was like, I don't want to work for an insurance company. But I went in for the interview. I looked at the paycheck. I looked at the benefits, and I thought, well, why not try? And now here it is 20 years later. I love the insurance industry. It has very holistic purposes in terms of helping the world advance, making sure that the underprivileged have access to healthcare and other things like that. It does a lot of good for the world. And just to put something into perspective for you, the global insurance premiums exceed $5.5 trillion. And what that means is, if you were to look at countries and sort them by gross domestic product, GDP, if insurance was a country, it'd be the fourth largest economy in the world, right? So insurance is a massive industry. There's tons of opportunity. It's an industry that's faced with challenges today, as a lot of people are retiring out of it, which means with more people leaving than coming in, that means the people that are coming in are going to have more opportunity, faster growth and advancement and things of that sort that probably traditionally happened. And, I mentioned about how talk to 100 people, 95 of them would say, I didn't set out to be in insurance. But here they are. They stay in insurance. A lot of people, when they get in the industry, they realize the work we're doing is good work. The people are good people. The paychecks are great. The benefits are great. The opportunities to do things like travel to conferences and stuff is pretty cool. So you don't hear a lot of cool factor to insurance, but actually there's a lot of coolness under the covers. So hopefully as students, you'll think further and explore further about opportunities in insurance. I think you'll find that the barriers to entry are not as high as you might think, especially as college students who are planning to graduate. I think that gives you a leg up in being able to enter the industry. And if there's anything that you'd like to know, or if I can help you in any way, just ping me on LinkedIn. It's a great way to find me, and I really appreciate how the Connecticut Department of Insurance has put this together, focusing on next generation talent, and I also appreciate the fact that they invited me to be here to speak to you, and thank you very much.
Thank you. Hope to see you guys soon at some conferences.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sarah Dillingham. I currently am the Senior Director for Product Development at the Insurance Institute for Business and Home Safety. I also serve here as a senior meteorologist, because that is actually what I am by trade, a meteorologist, and now working in the insurance industry and building science industry. So I just want to thank CID NextGen Academy for having me today. It's exciting to be able to kind of share my career path, and hopefully it will inspire some of you to see what kind of options are out there. I just spoke to one of my undergraduate advisors. I just spoke to a class of his last week, just talking about the different opportunities there are in meteorology. So I know I'm speaking to an audience that maybe focus a little bit more on insurance, but to let you know, I do have a job in the insurance industry. So there is a variety of things that you can do out there. So thanks again for having me today. So I just want to get into it really quick, and let's talk a little bit about my career and about how I got here. So you can see, like, I've got a few photos, little collage here showing you a little bit different paths along my career. I'll start when I was a child. You know, I had always loved meteorology, loved weather, I guess, before I knew that it was meteorology, but I had always loved weather, but actually was scared of it as a kid. But as I grew up, that fear turned to fascination, and then that fascination turned into a career path. And so that took me to the University of Georgia, where I earned my Bachelor's of Science in Geography and Atmospheric Sciences. And I also always had the goal of wanting to be a broadcast meteorologist, because I wanted to share the science of weather and try to share that with the everyday public, because science communication is something that's very important to us here at IBHS, and it's very important to the public, even if they may not know it. As some of you may have been exposed to recently, you know, we've had Hurricane Ian, we've had other events happen here in the U.S., and so there's certainly a message to resiliency and kind of understanding what's happening there and understanding what's happening in the weather. So science communication has always been important to me in some fashion. So when I went into school, you know, that's what I knew I wanted to do. So after graduating from the University of Georgia, I was also freelancing as a weather producer at CNN, where I had interned while I was in undergraduate school. And I really enjoyed that time there. That was kind of like my firsthand look of trying to communicate that science to the public and do it in a more professional way, right? And so after that point, I definitely wanted to go to graduate school. So I went to Texas Tech University, where I was able to do some severe storms research. This is a picture that I took back in 2009. This was the LaGrange, Wyoming tornado, which was part of the Vortex 2 tornado research project that summer. And it was basically the most well-absorbed tornado in history, because we had a crew of about 100 scientists that were all focused on this one storm, this one tornadic supercell. And here we are, my colleagues, Dr. Ian Giammanco and Dr. Frank Lombardo, there deploying right in front of this tornado. That's one of our StickNet instruments from Texas Tech University that I was honored enough to be able to work with. So getting to see the power of Mother Nature firsthand really helped that to hit home that much more to me, the need for communicating what's happening in the weather, what's happening in science. And ultimately, that's now translated into what I do here at IBHS, which is now building science. So, but after my graduate school career, I got my first on-air job in Lubbock, Texas, where I was also in graduate school. And you can see some photo there from my first local television job. I was an on-air broadcaster for weekends and mornings. And then about a year and a half after that, I moved back to Atlanta to CNN to become a full-time weather producer there, and did some on-air work there. And I was basically focusing on the graphics behind the scenes, developing the images that you see a lot of the times as they're talking over, creating the maps and all of that. That was part of my job, as well as communicating and briefing the show teams of the morning in the newsroom of the weather for the day and the weather stories that we're following. And then about after a year and a half at CNN, I made a decision to move over to the Weather Channel, where I just recently spent 9 years serving as a weather producer and broadcast meteorologist. At one point, I did co-host the show Weather Underground, which is still on the Weather Channel now, and also did a lot of severe weather coverage there as well. So in that 9 years, I saw a large number of disasters, really more than I can count, tornado outbreaks, hurricanes, floods, and wildfires as well. And there came a point a couple of years ago where, in 2018, it was after Hurricane Michael had struck the Florida Panhandle. And I'm watching this image of these poor people discussing to one of our field reporters about the experience they had and how they were just so upset that their livelihoods had just been destroyed right in front of their eyes. And that was a turning point for me. And I think it was always there, seeing these disasters unfold, thinking, well, we've got to get people to understand the weather better and understand what's going on and how to stay safe. And as I'm sitting there watching these poor people talk about their experience in Hurricane Michael, I'm just like, there's got to be a better way. There's got to be something that we can do. We've got to stop this from happening because I can't look at these images anymore. Little did I know, a few years later, that IBHS would come along and I'd have an opportunity here. So I decided to make that change and come over to IBHS. And so it was interesting now to have covered disasters for 12 years in broadcast meteorology and communicate the science and what's happening to the public. And now I've been able to take that knowledge and experience and that communications experience and translate that into the insurance industry, communicating building science, how the perils of Mother Nature impact our built environment. And so that's what we do here at IBHS. So now that I'm here, I just kind of want to show you a little bit about who we are and why we do what we do. So we are a research-backed organization that is supported by the property insurance and reinsurance industries. Our goal is to see how homes and businesses interact with the perils of Mother Nature. We focus on wind-driven rain, hail, and wildfires here. Our test facility has the unique ability to look and actually see how disasters unfold from the point of failure. We can put full-scale model homes into our test chamber and we can see how do they respond? What are the vulnerabilities that we can identify? And I'll show you a video of that here in just a second. But we know that severe weather disrupts lives and livelihoods. It displaces family and it causes emotional and physical and economic suffering for our communities. And so our goal is to try to educate people to learn about the buildings, use engineering practices, test modern building codes, current test standards, and see, are they good enough? Where are the areas that we can improve upon? And so that's our key focus here because we want to prevent human suffering and try to reduce the damage footprint. And one of the ways that we do that is in our massive test chamber. You can see all these wind turbines are about 150 wind turbines. When cranked to full capacity, it could get up to about 120, 130 mile per hour wind speeds around Category 2-3 hurricane. We have field deployments. We study hail. We have teams that go out and collect real hailstones, learn about them, measure them, 3D scan them, and then we can remake our own hail in the lab to more realistic characteristics. We can mimic wildfires. We see full-scale model homes that we can light on fire and see what are the vulnerabilities around the home, what's contributing to that home ignition. We look at wind and wind-driven rain, which is obviously common in hurricanes. We can see what facets of the home are most vulnerable to wind. How do we keep the wind out of the home and stop things like this from happening? And then also wind-driven rain, when we lose that roof deck or that we lose that the shingles off of our roof, what are the things that we can do? We can actually take the seams of our roof where it's put together and try to reduce the amount of water that's being seeped into our roofing and then also leading to costly roof claims that, again, just cause more damage for the homeowner. So these are all the cool things that we try to do here in the lab, but there's certainly a component to on the policy side and education as well. And so what we do, we try and translate our science into actions, our science into products. And that's kind of what I do here. Obviously, you see I'm sitting here in a studio. This is oftentimes where we try to communicate this. We do shows for our members, insurance members, and do broadcasts for them, trying to teach them about things that we've observed in the field and current research that's ongoing here at our facility. So we try to turn that science into products. And you see this tweet here, we can demonstrate things like how a 2x4 can penetrate a brick wall. What wind speeds does that happen at? What can I do to keep myself safe? So when we share images like this helps to communicate how important it is to, during a tornado and a high wind event, to shelter into those interior most rooms of your home or of your business, wherever you are, to try and put as many walls between you and the outside as you can. Ideally, you would like to have a shelter, but in the event that you can't, interior room, lowest level is the best way to go. And this is how we can communicate some of these. You can see here we have a variety of products. As I mentioned, we look at the different perils of Mother Nature. We have hurricane ready guides as well as thunderstorm ready and wildfire ready. We want homeowners and business owners to know what are some steps that I can do around my property to make sure that I'm in the best shape possible the next time a severe weather event moves through my area. We also can produce things like looking at hail damage. What are some things that I need to identify? We look at winter weather as well, looking at the vulnerability of grain bins and in the I don't know if many of you remember the 2020 derecho that moved through Iowa in August of 2020. But, this was just an information piece that we put out to kind of educate people because we just saw these strong visuals and we wanted to show people how that can happen. And then also here with wildfires, which we just launched our wildfire prepared home designation program this past June. And so that's a designation program that shows a holistic set of actions that you can take to try and mitigate the likelihood that your home is going to ignite. And so you can find more information about all of these on our website, ibhs.org. Wildfireprepared.org. That's where you can find more information about our standard. And at fortifiedhome.org, you can find more about our Fortified program. Our Fortified program is over a decade old, and that is a voluntary beyond code construction standard that helps you to build stronger. When it starts at the roof, we have fortified roof. That's your first line of defense against severe weather. So we've got different criteria that you have to meet for fortified roof. We also have fortified silver and gold, which are going to address other areas of the home, like the openings, the doors and windows where wind can find vulnerabilities and get inside the home and cause things to happen, like that roof coming off the building that I showed you just a moment ago. So these are the things that we try to mitigate against here at IBHS. And we try to do that in a visual way to try and hit that science home and make an impact with people who are exposed to our research to try and build safer, more resilient communities. So I hope you enjoyed listening a little bit about my career and a little bit about what we do here at IBHS. So if you'd like to connect with me, I'm sure we can share some information. Find me on social media as well as Sarah Dillingham. And thanks so much again for having me today.
Hi, I'm Gretchen Carlson. I'm an HR specialist at Nassau Financial Group. I got my start at Nassau in June of 2020. Just a little bit of background around me. I'm from Pasco, Rhode Island, which is a small little town on the Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Connecticut border. So in the middle of nowhere. But I got involved with HR at Nichols College in Dudley, Massachusetts, where I got my bachelor's and undergraduate degrees, my bachelor's in HR and hospitality management, and then I got an MBA from Nichols in 2021. So my Nassau experience is kind of a funny one. I'll wait until the next question to get into it, but I'm lucky enough that I've moved up a little bit already in the company, and I'm just really excited to see where the business is heading and where my professional career is heading from there. So I'll pass it over to Jillian.
Thanks, Gretchen. My name is Jillian Macron. I'm a human resources generalist at Nassau Financial Group. I began with Nassau in February of 2018. I started as a payroll and HR coordinator and eventually moved into some other positions, which eventually led me here. In terms of my background, I worked for the medical industry and the staffing industry before making the move into the insurance industry. I attended the University of Connecticut, much like Gretchen. I'm from Ashford, Connecticut, also a very, very small town, close to the Rhode Island border as well. And I majored in English with a minor in psychology. So Gretchen, just to dive a little bit more into how you started with Nassau, what were your beginnings with our company?
Absolutely. So, and it's funny that Jillian asks because I started my Nassau journey with Jillian being right there in person. So it's kind of a funny story to tell. But at Nichols College, I went to a career fair in February of 2020 before the pandemic kind of rocked our lives. And I was curious about what was going on there, even though I wasn't looking for a job. I wasn't looking for an internship. I just wanted to just see what was going on as someone looking to get into the professional career field. A friend of mine came up to me and was like, hey, you should go check out Nassau Financial Group. A friend of mine who went here 3 years ago is a recruiter there, and he may remember you, and they're looking for an HR intern. So I was like, okay, I'll go see what they're all about. And I started chit-chatting with this alumni of my school, and I gave him my resume, and he goes, oh, you'd be a really good HR intern for us. I think you'd really like the team. He introduced me to Jillian, who was there in person. We only chatted for just a minute or so. But he's like, yeah, you should go online and apply. So I read the application. I'm like, wow, this really does sound like me. It sounds like something that would be really exciting. So then I applied right before the pandemic, and then I did all of my interviews throughout COVID. So virtually on Zoom, I met with everyone on the team, and luckily I got the internship for June of 2020. So we were still in the pandemic, so I was mostly working remotely, but I got to really get to know my boss, CJ Kenny, and a lot of other members of the HR team. And lucky enough for me, I was able to work really hard, gain a lot of exposure, and I was offered a full-time position in September of 2020 as an HR coordinator. So I was in that coordinator role for about a year and a half, definitely learning so much along the way. And then this past March, I was promoted to HR specialist. So it's just been a really exciting time, and I'm lucky that I've gotten so many great experiences so far. What about you, Jillian?
Oh, so the beginning of my career was kind of uncertain, actually, just due to the fact that I graduated college just after 2008, 2010. So during the Great Recession, it was extremely tough for anyone to get a job. And I made the great choice of studying English. So I knew I didn't want to go into academics, and I didn't really know what my next steps were. So I didn't know what I was doing. I think that's the best way to put it. I had no idea what I was doing when I graduated from college, and was out on my own, just trying to make things work. So my first job was actually for a marketing firm. I was helping to build a database for direct mailers. Quickly learned from that I felt like I was in jail and I didn't have a lot of human interaction in that position. And then I wanted to work with people. So in reality, though I absolutely detested that job, it was a really great learning experience for me. And it taught me that I had to make very specific decisions about what jobs I was taking, what was going to be the most advantageous choice for my career. So after that, I actually decided that I needed to, learn a little bit more about administrative work. When I was in school, high school into college, we learned a little bit about, Excel and the Microsoft Suite and a lot of administrative skills, but not really enough for it to be something that you could apply to your day-to-day life in the working world. So I ended up taking an administrative position for a staffing agency, actually based on Columbus Boulevard here in Hartford. I worked there, eventually moving up into a payroll position. I didn't want to do admin work anymore. And I, once again, had no idea what I was doing, but I marched myself into the controller's office and I said, hey, I have no idea what I'm doing, but you know that I'm a quick learner. Why don't you just give me a shot? So that's actually how I kind of moved myself into the HR realm. I started doing payroll. And from there, I, kept doing it, kept working that muscle, learning more, and ended up at my previous employer, doing payroll there as well. And then I found my way here to Nassau. I knew I loved HR. I knew I loved working with people. I knew that in some capacity, whatever role I take, I want to be in service of others and helping others. And that's where I get the most out of my work. So took on more and more HR responsibilities while I was here. I kept saying, I don't know what I'm doing, but give me a shot. I think that's been the through line for my entire career. I don't know what I'm doing, but give me a shot. I will learn it. I will be successful. And that's kind of how I worked my way up into a generalist role here at Nassau. So now I recruit, I assist in benefits, I assist in creating board materials. I help to run our intern program, which I get so much joy out of. I help up with our ERGs. So there's a lot of different places where I get to make an impact. So I think once again, just always learning to, take on more and not be afraid of having no idea what you're doing is always the best choice, because that's, that uncomfortable place is where I found the most growth.
Absolutely. I agree completely. Not even being in the field for 2 years. You're always learning something, which is awesome.
Yeah. And Gretchen, I just learned about you that you weren't even looking for an internship. We must have made quite the impression.
Yeah, you guys definitely did. I wasn't looking, which is the funniest thing.
That is funny. So what are you working on now that you find the most exciting? A lot of students aren't even aware of what's going on in the insurance industry. And, the more we learn about kind of the outside perspective, we realize that folks don't know about all of the available jobs that we have here within the insurance industry. So, we definitely want to hear about what you're doing and what makes you excited to come to work every day.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would say one thing that gets me excited about coming to work at Nassau, and I feel like someone from HR to finance to actuarial can say this, is you truly never know what you're going to be doing in a day. it's always exciting. There's always something new going on. There's always improvements, changes. So it's not like you're sitting bored at a job doing repeat tasks every day. And what's great about our company is we are in a growth mode. So what's actually making me the most excited about working right now is our recruiting. So we've been bringing in a ton of people. I think this year, out of the 2 full years I've been here, we've brought in the most people that I've seen throughout the team. And I think it's because we're in a growth mode stage. And you will hear me say growth mode all the time, but it's because that's what our company says all the time, because we are just trying to make our mark in the insurance industry. And what I would say is some of the positions, before I even came to an insurance company, I didn't know what positions there were. But there's some really cool areas in all insurance that is growing. So I'd say like marketing, something that surprised me the most at our company, is that the fact that most people think of marketing and they think of, oh, it's just like you're putting your ads out. No, like there's targeted marketing for people who sell our products. There's targeted marketing for people who have a Nassau insurance product in their hand, like an annuity product. There's marketing for us internally. And then social media marketing is one of the biggest things in the world right now in all industries, and in insurance, it's just starting out. So it's really exciting. There's lots of things going on. And I'd also say, Jillian, I don't know if you've seen this in your roles, but data management, like the use of big data, is one of the most exciting things that I've seen, because it's people who can work with that data, who can get roles in pretty much any area of the insurance industry. So if you're really into looking at data and numbers and analytics, there's definitely a space for you here in the insurance industry. And I've seen it at Nassau as well.
Okay, thank you, Gretchen.
What about you, Jillian? What are you excited about that's going on?
Oh, geez. Well, as you mentioned, we are in growth mode. So the uncertainty of that is actually quite exciting. You touched on the fact that, we don't know what we're going to be doing every day. It never gets stale. I always tell people that we're bringing in the door. I learned more in the first year that I worked at Nassau than I did at the previous 3 years I was at my other employer. So that kind of says it all. There's always a learning opportunity. There's always a stretch assignment. There's always a project. If you're interested in it, the answer is usually yes, if you want to get involved. And I find that very exciting because it really equalizes everybody in the company. You're never in a position too small to be able to kind of reach up and say, hey, I want to get involved, which is super duper exciting. In terms of my everyday work, one thing I'm extremely excited about is our employee ERG, the Women of Nassau. We are rolling out a financial literacy program that actually kicks off in the month of October. So we're starting off with Econ 101, really working to educate our entire population on investments, economics, personal finance, and spread that knowledge, because a lot of data has shown that a lot of women in particular don't have that type of education and they don't feel comfortable with it. So what we're doing is creating a series. It's not just for women, it's for everyone. We're inclusive. That will help not just to educate on personal finance, but also what are we doing here at Nassau? If you came from a different industry or you're just out of college, you might not know what a CLO is. You might hear CFO and think Chief Financial Officer. Well, actually, that is also, a different term. So it means something else. So really, rolling out a program that's going to last hopefully about 18 months and keep growing, and also highlight the great work that people internally are doing here at Nassau. And also, one thing I'm always excited about is our intern program. It feels like whenever we wrap it one season, well, within a couple of months, here we go again. We're rolling it out, we're building it, we're making it better. And I'm looking forward to our next cohort of interns that are going to be joining us for next year as well. So that's already rolling. So we'll see what comes from it. And hopefully we'll get more wonderful people like Gretchen involved.
Oh, thanks. I completely agree. The intern program and the Women of Nassau ERGs, luckily the team, you all have exposed me to them from the very beginning of my times. And it's so great, the opportunities that are given. So I can't say it enough.
That's good to hear. Yes, we pulled you in immediately.
Yes.
You'll be great for this. Gretchen, what's on the horizon for you in terms of working here at Nassau and just your career in general?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. And 3 years ago, I would have had an exact answer for you with a timeline and things like that. But I've learned throughout my time here at Nassau that, you really just don't know. So the thing is, I know that I want to grow in HR, want to stay in the industry, want to hopefully stay at Nassau as long as I can due to the wonderful opportunities that I have. But I'm honestly just going to let whatever comes down the road come when it does. Luckily enough, I've been so exposed to a lot of different things that I feel like I've already learned so much. So I just hope that the opportunities just keep coming my way. I will go out, as you said, and ask for them, be like, hey, what can I get involved in? What can I do? But I do eventually see myself moving into a management position in like at least 5 years down the road, because I need a lot of more experience with people before I can do that. But I know that's something I'm really passionate about. Like even in my years at Nichols, I did a lot of like leadership positions, and I know I want to get back to that. But in the corporate world, I know I should probably wait a little bit and get my feet a little bit more wet before I do that. And then I really just see myself expanding in HR. I'm going to hopefully get some HR certifications in the next year, attend conferences, and just really grow my network in the HR field and at Nassau, because that's what will set me up for success. And I knew that the moment I started here, because if I didn't know Dan, I wouldn't have come up to the table and I wouldn't have talked to you guys and I wouldn't be here today. So that's kind of what's down the road for me. I know it's not the best answer to the question, but it's definitely an interesting path that I'm excited to see where it goes. But what about you, Jillian?
Well, one thing I do want to mention is the insurance network here in Hartford is pretty vast. And what's been great is that through our Reimagine program, it's like these tentacles are going out, and we have folks that are coming over from Europe to be a part of this program. So being positioned where you are, building that network is incredibly attainable, which is absolutely fantastic. And for me, once again, I don't know what I'm doing. No, I think I've been lucky enough where I'm kind of finding myself now, 15 years into my career, kind of in a sweet spot where I feel like I've learned a lot. I'm happy with what I am doing. I'm always looking to grow and learn more, and hopefully, move into a managerial position as time comes. But, I'm happy, and I just hope to, stay in the human resources field, continue to learn, build that skill set, continue to be there as a resource for the people that, help to make our company successful, and, continue here in Nassau and just be part of this wild ride. I think that's, just once again, not the most succinct answer, but that's kind of where I am right now, and, take it as it comes.
Exactly. And I think that's a lesson for people watching it. It's like you always want to plan your career so much, and it's like you really can't, like you don't know what's coming down the road. So it's just kind of like in what you've said earlier, like embracing the uncomfortable, because it's uncomfortable not knowing where you're going. But the thing is, if you embrace it, then who knows what positive things are going to be coming from it. So that's what I would tell anybody looking to get into insurance, HR, like just embrace the uncomfortable and you'll just see where you go.
And on that line of thinking, a lot of folks that I talk to, and even people that are in extremely high level positions, they always say, my career path was not linear. Like there was a lot of movement around, but sometimes you go sideways and then you go up, and then you go sideways again and then you go up. So just kind of knowing that even, C-suite leaders for the company that you work for, they experience that too. But that's how they learned, and that's how they continue to grow their skill set and have that depth of knowledge. That's important, because we don't always have a linear trajectory, and that's okay too, because that's just the life cycle of your career. And eventually you want to, continue to grow and continue to move up, but that's not the entire experience. So like you said, for anyone listening that's coming out of college, that's okay. And that doesn't have any reflection on you or your education or your work product. It's just kind of the life cycle of the career. And that can be exciting too, and, there's a lot to attain from that, and a lot that you can get from that as well. Well, thank you, Gretchen. I appreciate you, Jillian, conversation with me.
I really enjoyed it. Yeah. And I hope anyone who's listening definitely follow Nassau Financial Group on social media. We have LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and you'll see some really exciting things that are going on at our company. And hopefully you can join us pretty soon.
Yeah. And Nassau Reimagine. Be sure to follow them as well. They have all the same handles, and they're doing a lot of great work down there. So, and we have a podcast, the Nassau Reimagine podcast as well. So definitely tune in.
Hi, I'm Susan Winkler, Vice President of Metro Hartford Alliance and Executive Director of the Connecticut Insurance and Financial Services. The Connecticut IFS companies recognizes how important it is our future talent base is. And we thank Commissioner Mace, Mary Quinn, and the entire team at the CID for allowing you to reach in and gain some understanding of where those jobs are next, especially here as we have those jobs in the insurance capital. My job here is to let you know how big and vast that insurance capital is. And just to give you some data points, we have the highest number of actuaries anywhere in the country. We also have in our small little state the highest number of insurance jobs anywhere in the US. We also rank number 3 in all direct written premium across the country. And our newest ranking is we rank number 1 as a captive domicile in the US, the number 1 again, by Captive International. So what does this mean to you? First of all, it means that there's a lot of jobs in multiple different disciplines across the insurance industry in Connecticut. And those jobs are waiting for you here today. And today I have the privilege of talking about the next panel, the Trend Spotter. That's pretty exciting. As the insurance industry is now a tech, it's almost like a tech company selling insurance, but we have AI, IoT, machine learning, blockchain, all those technologies are inside and embedded in the insurance industry. And again, what does that mean to you? Well, that means that if you are, let's say you have a passion for technology, you're an entrepreneur or an innovator, or maybe you just like numbers, you can land an integral position inside the insurance industry in one of the most important economic industries here in Connecticut, which is insurance. So we're glad to have you today, and we're excited that you're going to listen and learn.
Hi, I'm Laura Dinan-Haber, Innovation Program Manager for Nassau Reimagine. We're an InsurTech and RetireTech incubator, part of Nassau Financial Group. I'm excited to be here today to share a little bit about my journey, my story, and hopefully inspire a little bit of spark and energy into your journey into the insurance marketplace. So our incubator was created to foster innovation, not only within our company, but also within Hartford and the region around us. We've created community. We are part of a community. We foster relationships, and we really like to connect the dots. In our story today, you'll hear a little bit more about how we work to connect those dots. But let's start at education. I earned my BSBA from the University of Hartford. I had a focus in business marketing, and I really enjoyed my time there with the professors and the other students. I actually still remain actively engaged with UHart in several ways, and I've served as the vice president of the Alumni Board of Directors. So I've had the opportunity to speak inside the classroom, engage with students, and also be on the back end of things within the university. And it's a really great community, and I recommend to each of you as you're going out into the world after graduation. I understand if you have to take a little bit of time off, but really think about how you can remain engaged to your college or university, because the individuals there really do want to see you succeed, and they want to help you to do so. So whether it's alumni, professors, other students, just make sure you remain engaged and figure out a strategy to do that. It's been absolutely invaluable to me on my career journey thus far. Now let's talk a little bit about career path. Mine, I would say, is a little bit like a riverbed. A lot of curves to my journey, and I'm sure we have more curves ahead, but it goes to show that no matter what you choose to study within your education, it may take you down that path. Say if you're an actuary and you're studying actuarial science, it's pretty defined, and you may find yourself to be an actuary, and that's a wonderful thing. You're essentially a mathematical unicorn. But for individuals such as myself and a lot of other people that I know, I studied marketing, and that's taken me a lot of places so far. So I started off in the financial services industry, which then led me into economic development and community relations within the utility industry, which led to investor relations and marketing in the nonprofit sector, again, focused on economic development, but different. And then that rolled together naturally led to innovation in the insurance industry. So you'll see how, the path may not be straight, but there are connections along the way that really kind of help to define what could be next for you, or what could be next, and how to use those skills that you may not even realize the value to them at that point, but you can use them to advance yourself and advance yourself within your career. So I didn't plan the journey. It sounds pretty random in a lot of ways. It was and it wasn't. I went about it in a very bold way. I like to, create opportunities, create energy in everything that I do. And I always use the ability to market myself to get into that next career opportunity. So there's weight behind the saying where, fake it till you make it. And by no means do I recommend, sharing false information about yourself, but it's really, to me, more about believing in what you can do. So for example, my first role out of college, the position was requesting 5 to 7 years of work experience. If I'm being honest, when I applied, I had not even yet graduated, but I knew that the skills that I had from the experiences previous to that, and then also the education that I was receiving at the time, the sum of those gains really added up to something that the employer would find of value. So instead of focusing on, 5 to 7 years of experience, I can't do that. It was, what do I have, and how can I show the value in what I do have, and then sell that going forward. So I focused on those skills, and that translated into opportunities. And again, like I said, it's about, going down that path, and how do you use what you have today to get to tomorrow? And part of our conversation today is really focusing on the future. But I wanted to take the time to really talk about the importance of remembering, don't close the door on yourself before you've even tried to open it. And it may sound strange, but it's true. I think sometimes we find ourselves saying, maybe not me, or maybe not now, but I ask you to think of yourself in the highest possible way, like you do your best friend or someone else around you, maybe a mentor or a peer. Put yourself in their shoes and understand that you can do that thing, or apply for that job, or go into that major, whatever it is. Just remember to believe in yourself as you go down this journey, because you're going to learn along the way. And one thing that I've learned in a lot of what I do in innovation is you have to be okay with failing. Failing is not actually a failure as much as it is something that can teach you something. So if a project or a POC, a proof of concept, or other work doesn't go the way that it was originally planned, some people may stop and say, oh, well, we're done. We spent the dollars, we failed, terrible experience. But really, I ask that people think about it differently, because if you've tried the thing and it didn't give you the outcome that you were anticipating, that might be when we define that as a failure. But in fact, if you try the thing and you've learned from that, it's a success. So another thing that I've learned down my little river path journey is failing is good. Try to fail intelligently, try to fail quickly, so that way you can get up and try something else. But keeping those doors open and being okay with failure as an educator is something that has been really helpful to me. Okay, so you've heard me talk for a few minutes now, but I'm going to ask you to dive in and humor me with some interactive questions. So first question, true or false? The word insurance is a synonym to the word innovative. And I'm sure there's some individuals out there thinking, true, duh. I mean, insurance is innovative. That's why we're here today. We're learning about innovation and the different opportunities within insurance. And some people may be thinking, no, absolutely not. Insurance is, as dry toast as we get. So the answer is yours to decide, but my hope is through the discussion today with our fellow panelists and with the other content on this discussion is that we highlight for you just how innovative the industry is and will continue to be. I think there's a lot of growth going on right now that's very exciting, and we'll get to that a little bit later on. But you may be entering this conversation today with a thought of, insurance is, that's my parents' industry. That's so boring. But I welcome you to think about insurance as innovative, as interesting, and as different. And it's growing so quickly. And there's so many skills that you have within the talent set right now that are not currently in the industry that I really I'm excited to see what happens once you've graduated and put yourself inside of insurance to see what we can do together. Okay, for the second question, I'm going to ask for everyone out there to please raise your hand if, as you were growing up, you pictured yourself working and thriving in the insurance industry. Yeah, I didn't raise my hand either. So for those of you with your hand up, absolutely fabulous. And for those of you like me with your hand not up, you've tuned into the correct panel discussion. So I hope that by the end of our time today, you can picture yourself working and thriving in the insurance industry. And it doesn't mean that the industry is going to be the same way as it is today, tomorrow. We hope that that change just continues and accelerates at a pace that we can't even anticipate based on the technology and the talent coming out. So fun fact, my parents were actually both in the insurance industry. They're alum. And my father recently left retirement to join an insurtech. So it just goes to show that at any age, any stage, any talent level, there's a place for you. So now that you've had a sense of my background, let's talk a little bit about the type of work that I'm doing right now that excites me. There are a lot of things, but we don't have enough time for that. So I'm going to focus in on one or two of these things. First one is this industry, especially in Hartford, is so interconnected. And it's important to recognize where the connections can help strengthen your work and build partnerships around it. So a lot of what we do as an incubator is we bring people in who are doing really amazing things, and we surround them with help, whether it is marketing, whether it is looking for additional talent for them, if it's making introductions to investors, whatever the need is, we work with the individual and the company to understand how can we best help you, who can we introduce you to, and how can we help you get to that next stage of where you're trying to be. And the connections are really, really valuable. And a mentor actually once told me to think about Hartford and you can be a big fish in a small pond. And at first that might sound like a negative thing, but actually I found it to be quite positive, because as you get out there and you build a name for yourself in the insurance industry, you truly have the opportunity to have your work speak ahead of you. So when you make that call or put out that ask or make that recommendation, people will know you. They're going to know you. They're going to know the work that you do. You're going to have a sense of, who you are as a professional, as a human being. And that can truly make an impact. So in the same way that I recommend you stay connected to your college or university, I really recommend that you build a network around yourself. Surround yourself with people who are mentors, with people who are doing things that you want to do, with people who are at different levels in the job, in life, and learn as much as you can. You can never learn enough. And the more that you go out and introduce yourself to people and tell your story, the more opportunities that you're going to find. So never stop telling your story. And that's actually kind of why I'm wearing these headphones. We'll get to that in a second. So going back to one of the projects that really excites me right now, it's a talent pipeline project. And at the heart of it is really creating strong linkages between business and academia. And having shared goals amongst us, I think, is a really important piece. So it's not, our company doing it for our good only. It's we're partnering with both UConn and UHeart, and we're partnering with two businesses, and we're building win-win-wins, because at the end of the day, all ships rise, right? So you may have heard that. And it's true. It's one win is not enough. When you can have everyone win, everyone's stronger and the tide rises quicker. So the project's put together really to educate individuals, to curate hands-on experiences, to scout talent, expand and reinvigorate a mentor network that's out there, all while heightening brand awareness and sentiment. So what we do is not only provide opportunity to bring tangible innovation to students, to business, to our own employee base, but really doing it in a way where students are getting hands-on opportunities with startups that they wouldn't have otherwise had access to. They're getting access to mentors from businesses in the local area. In an internship type setting, opportunities could come up. That could be full-time, part-time, or even summer internships that could come out of this. We have, an opportunity also to tell stories, not only of the startups and the students involved, but also of those businesses, and really getting the word out about how our local talent here in Hartford and how the Hartford insurance industry, how we're all partnering together. And it's exciting. And we haven't, shared our total story on this one publicly quite yet. So I can't dive in more than what I've said already. But it's, to me, the breadth of it is, it's the partnerships, it's the community, it's the shared wins and the collaboration that at the end of the day really speak to the heart of our industry and what we can do together when we truly partner. So the headphones, right? Little extreme, the microphone, maybe a little bit different than some of my other panelists. Telling stories, as I've mentioned before, is a really strong communication opportunity. And what we've done here at Reimagine is we've started a podcast, and we're over 100 episodes in. And for us, it was an opportunity for a few things. One, to get our brand out there in the marketplace. Our incubator is only 3 years old, and what better way to get out there is with stories and content. So as we interview individuals who are startups, who are corporate innovators, who are authors, who are thinkers, big question askers, it gives us a chance to learn from them. It gives us a chance to meet them, to understand what their business models are. Can we bring their business into our business? How can they help us with some of the challenges we may be having, or how can they help us improve bottom line and some things? But really to get out there and explore and to constantly learn. And it's been beneficial in so many ways. We were recently at a conference, an industry trade show conference down in Las Vegas called InsurTech Connect, or ITC. And we partnered with CTIFS, the Insurance and Financial Services Cluster, Susan Winkler, and then Michelle Cody with Launch Hartford. And what we did is we set up our podcast in the middle of this interactive booth that CTIFS was hosting. And collaboratively across the 3 organizations, we were telling Hartford's story. And we invited individuals from the show floor to join us. So it was an opportunity, again, talk about Hartford, talk about the insurance capital of the world, talk about CTIFS, what is Launch, what is Nassau doing, all while getting from them an opportunity and a tangible object in the form of a recorded podcast that then they share to their networks, we share to our networks, and then there's the cross marketing opportunity that comes with it. So it's a lot of fun. I love it. It's exciting. We have 2 other podcasts going on at Nassau. So it's a really, really creative way for me to use my skills and my talent in different ways that I never anticipated. Who would have thought podcast, insurance, maybe you did, I didn't. So when the opportunity came up, it was quite exciting for me. And then the thing that I want to talk about next is looking into the future. So I don't have a crystal ball. I would say the closest thing to a crystal ball that I have is probably my iPhone. And usually it just tells me what I've forgotten to do or emails to read. But I wish it would tell me the future. And if I had to make a guess, I would say, it's clear to see that an evolution is happening. There is transformation taking place both digitally. COVID changed things for a lot of people. It brought a lot of people to places that they didn't think they were going to be, whether that was digitization of products, of services, maybe they were B2B, now they're B2C or reverse. And it changed conversations. And I've heard different people say different things, but it could have sped the industry up by, say, 10 to 15 years, depending on where you were sitting and how slow you were moving before. But in my opinion, looking broadly at the insurance industry, there are areas where I'm excited. I'm excited about where the future is going to go, where it could go, where we are hearing, startups getting focused on. I think there's a lot of opportunity that hasn't yet even been uncovered. So I welcome you to think about yourself on your journey and thinking about the insurance industry to say, hey, that might not be a thing yet, but I could see where it could be. And I invite you to raise your hand, ask that question, and bring that forward, because you don't know what you don't know, right? I didn't know that an opportunity like the one that I have even existed. And it wasn't until it was a creative conversation that I was having with someone where I mentioned that on the side, I'm a co-organizer of TEDx Hartford. TEDx Hartford struck interest with them. They brought me into the building. We had a conversation. And through that, I learned about the incubator. And through that, the conversations began. So again, going back to, you don't know what you don't know, and you don't know where your riverbed is going to lead. So always open those doors, ask those questions, and think ahead, and don't be shy about it, because it's usually the bold people who get the bold moves. So again, looking into my crystal ball, I would say, areas to look at, to kind of get interested in. What are the newest forms of embedded insurance? Where are we going to see that path go? Why do I need to buy my homeowner's insurance separately from my home? Why am I not getting my insurance when I'm getting my contract, my mortgage? Why are we not embedding things closer? When I buy something on the Target app, it'll ask me if I want to insure it for X number of dollars for a year. And it's usually an item that's $20, and I choose not to insure it. But why, when I'm, not buying something a lot more expensive, why are those notifications not popping up? Why are we not thinking about that? Cybersecurity, another huge area, and it's large swath, but it's huge right now. And the conversation is going in many different ways. Digitization of products. Things have gone digital. What is that going to mean in the future? I don't know. I think there's a lot of excitement out there. We hear about startups doing some really cool things. Digitization of service, again, B2B, B2C. How are we communicating with our customers? Do we know who our customers are? Should we be focusing on not only our current customers, but looking forward into our future customers and being where they are and where they're communicating? Create community within the audience. So I mentioned the podcast. We created a community from one of our podcast series called That Annuity Show. And it's been fascinating to have these conversations with individuals, a lot like this, virtually, but then bringing them in person. We had the opportunity a few months ago to bring in a bunch of them in person for an event called the Retire Tech Forum. And it was amazing to have people in the audience when I asked, how many of you have been on either the Reimagine podcast or That Annuity Show? And hands went up across the room. And it was fascinating to see them look at each other to say, oh, we have a shared connection. Not only are we in the same industry, but we have this shared experience we can talk about. So we were able to watch those connections come even tighter, which was very, very meaningful and exciting for us. So knowing where your customers are, communicating to them in the manner that they prefer, and then creating community within that to not only serve them better, but also to have them feel as though they're part of a larger family to retain them. One example of looking out a little bit further is I started our TikTok account, and it felt silly at first, and it honestly still does to a degree, but I wanted to be in a place where future customers are, where they're creating, content. There's a lot of talent there. So what can we learn? How should we be listening? How should we be presenting ourselves? Are there things that we are unaware of that we could take back and utilize even in today's marketing? Yeah. And it's been amazing to see what's out there and how people choose to interact and how to create in that platform. Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, we're on everything because you have to be where your clients are. So again, rolling it back because it's not important enough to say it 75 times, knowing your audience, whether it's one audience or multiple audiences, being where they are and then remaining relevant to them and listening, asking questions. The virtual recording is wonderful, but I wish we could be in person so we could be interacting and you could be asking me questions and I can be asking you questions, because it's going back to the learning and constantly pulling in new information that just helps us, navigate the future better. I'd also say too, the importance of knowing how to market within the space. So the future of marketing within insurance and thinking big about it. Sometimes it's the bigger thinkers that really stand out the strongest. And I'll give you an example. Yesterday I was at a climate forum and the question was asked, why aren't we researching changing climate instead of just talking about climate change? And I sat there and I was like, But then, you think about it again, you're like, no, you're right. If there are wildfires, why aren't we talking about how to create rain? Or if there's, freezing temperatures, why are we not talking about how to create heat? So thinking big, asking big questions, and, maybe there's an answer, maybe there's not, maybe we have to create an answer for it and innovate towards that. But really just kind of taking taking people out of the place that they currently are and bringing them to a spot where they can think differently and create differently is extremely powerful. And it's one of the reasons why I truly love innovating within this industry. I'd say two others on the horizon for me, kind of future focused. Cannabis. What is that going to do to the industry? How are people going to insure it, insure against it? TBD, pretty exciting. It's happening now and it's going to continue to grow. And then climate and the role that insurers can play within that. And then the products too. How can we focus around build products within that climate mindset, and what impact can we make with those? So again, it goes back to it's community, it's learning, it's staying connected, asking big questions, asking difficult questions. That combined will truly help shape the future of the industry. So for me, as I move forward, it's my goal to continue to ask those difficult questions and make those colorful recommendations in an industry that's traditionally been operating in grayscale. Because if you can't think differently, then we aren't going to act differently. We're not going to change the future. So for me, that's one of the biggest things in innovation is being brave and being bold in how you think and making educated, assumptions, educated moments going forward, but also being brave enough to say, if we fail, it's okay. We're going to fail fast. We're going to get up and we're going to run harder. So in my opinion, it's perfect time to join the insurance industry. There's exciting opportunities for all skill sets. Whether you have a background in actuarial sciences, are you thinking that you're going to be a data scientist? Are you a psych major? Are you an engineer? Are you in marketing? Whatever focus you currently have, there is a place for you in the industry. So my advice to you is think broad, think big, stay connected, remain connected, ask hard questions, create solutions in color, and really just keep pushing and moving forward, because without individuals like you who are learning new ways, communicating in new ways, going forth with bigger, broader ideas, we're not going to be able to innovate as powerfully. So we invite you to join the insurance industry. There's a place for you. The time is now. I'd like to, thank you for joining us here today and listening to me talk about my viewpoints on it. And I welcome you to contact me should you have any questions. You can find me on LinkedIn, Laura Dinan-Haber, or you can even email me at ldinanhaber@nfg.com. And again, Innovation Program Manager for NASA Reimagine. Never thought I'd be in the insurance industry, but I am so happy to be here. And again, I welcome you to join us. So thank you for watching today, and we hope to hear from you soon. Thanks.
Hello, everyone. It's my pleasure to be speaking with you today at the Connecticut Insurance Department's NextGen Career Academy Conference. Today, I look forward to engaging with you to talk a bit about trends in the insurance industry and some best practices for success. I should qualify this by saying that when I talk about insurtech and fintech, I do use the terms interchangeably. In a moment, I will introduce myself officially, but we've launched a new program in fintech, a new master's program. And within that program, we use sort of a McKinsey definition of fintech that also includes insurtech, regtech, and medtech, all of which have tentacles in the insurance industry. So when I do speak about those, I'm going to speak about those in somewhat of a global fashion. So let me introduce myself. My name is John Wilson, and I teach in our Operations and Information Management Department in the School of Business at the University of Connecticut. I am also recently the architect and academic director of our new MS FinTech program, as well as our FinTech certification program that we just recently launched. I have over 10 years of experience in course development and delivery. I was instrumental in the design and launch of our Center for the Advancement of Business Analytics, and I was also fairly instrumental in the ongoing design and evolution of our master's program in business analytics and project management. When I'm not in my academic domain, I am a consulting data scientist with LIMRA. LIMRA is a 104-year-old trade organization focused on research and thought leadership within the financial services industry, specifically in the life insurance industry, as well as the annuity industry. So between my academic credentials and my corporate credentials, I have quite a bit of reach into what's going on in the insurance sector and the financial services sector, both from an academic perspective as well as from a corporate perspective. So as I mentioned, we recently launched a fintech program. That's what has brought me here today to speak to trends in the fintech and insurtech ecosystem. Our program, just to give you an idea, is a 36 credit master's program, as well as a 12 credit certificate offering that consists of a mix of analytics, technology, and business courses. And it's really intended to prepare the student for entry into the world of financial services technology, or as we call it, fintech. Now, when I think about trends, many of those trends revolve around the nascent technologies or the applications of technologies, be they new ones or ongoing technologies. And it's really these different types of connections that make fintech, insurtech. Now, UConn, as one of the economic engines of the state, one of the reasons we launched this program is because we have a strong understanding of the need for talent and workforce development. It is my assumption that many of you are attending today, either because you are considering a career in insurance or financial services, or you are considering a change within the career of financial services. And understanding the trends and where jobs are going to be and what technologies are going to be involved would be part of your due diligence in understanding what your potential is out there in the business world. So again, I mentioned that we have an ecosystem that really revolves around this notion of fintech. As you can see, insurtech is listed. It utilizes technology such as artificial intelligence, drone technology, satellite technology, blockchain, cryptocurrency. It really is a robust landscape where you think about insurance and you think about actuarial underwriting and things of that nature, but there are so many applications of technology and blockchain that are being implemented that you really need to have sort of a different perspective on what it means to be in the insurtech or fintech industry. So today I'm going to talk about some of the trends that we are starting to see out there. And to do that, what I've done is I've reached out to some of our advisory board members in our fintech program. I certainly see trends. I attend many of the major conferences in insurtech, in regtech, and in fintech, and I'm able to see a lot of the trends that are going on there just by participating in the sessions and talking to companies, et cetera. But I also wanted to reach out to some other industry experts, and so I've selected some from our advisory board to get a sense of what they're seeing out in the industry as well, and I'll share some of those with you. So our first advisor is Scott Roberts. Scott Roberts is Senior Vice President for a firm. And one of the trends, and it's not really a trend as he discussed it, but it's an observation, is the impact of rate increases on fintech. While the rate increases are really designed to tamp inflation, there is going to be some repercussions on companies. Many of you may have heard of these companies becoming what they call unicorns. These are fairly new companies that quickly established business valuations in excess of $1 billion. And much of that was driven by what we would call easy money. Many of these fintechs over the last 8 years, according to Scott, have had the benefit of building their products and really just focusing on the customer experience and their technology while interest rates were effectively zero. And so as a result, they had very little interest in really understanding their capitalization because money was so easy and so cheap to get, easy to get and so cheap. Today's inflation data, however, has locked the Fed's interest rates increases in for a few years. And eventually these increases are going to force these fintechs to pass the higher rates on to their customers. So higher rates on loans, but they might not be able to pass along the rate for savings products since most of them were absorbing some of these costs internally. And what that means is that some of the advantages of these fintechs, some of the efficiencies that allowed them to have perhaps lower rates on loans and offer higher rates on savings, that compression is going to go away. So according to Scott, he believes that many of the fintechs have underdeveloped their treasury and capital markets. Funding is going to become a challenge, and commitments that they've made about being low rate alternatives will become harder to promote. So what is likely to happen is you're going to see a bit of a shakeout, very similar to what we saw in the dot-com era. And for some of these companies, they may cease to exist. Other companies may merge with similar companies, or they may become subsumed into larger financial institutions. And we are starting to see some of these trends occurring as we speak. Another one of our advisors, Sangha Pinasetti, founder and CEO of GoZeal, has noted a couple of things that she feels are happening in the insurtech space in particular. The first is around cloud and edge computing. For those of you who don't know, cloud computing, I think most people are familiar with Amazon Web Services and the like. Edge computing is really focused on devices out on the edge of this cloud, as it were, things like sensors and telematics. Adoption rates are fairly high across different industries, particularly in the industrial sector. But the insurance sector will see a tremendous amount of growth in this space over the course of the next 3 to 5 years. Many companies are looking to improve their data sovereignty, their autonomy, their resource productivity, latency, and security. And to do that, edge computing will become an operational necessity for many of these organizations. We are already seeing this, particularly in the reinsurance sector, the property and casualty sector, and group sectors. When you think about your Fitbits and telematics in cars and some of the things you're seeing on some of your smart devices, the Internet of Things, those are all helping insurance companies better understand risk and better be able to price their products. The other thing that has Sangha really excited is the notion of open insurance, similar to the idea of open banking. Open insurance is somewhat analogous to open source software, but in this case, instead of actual software, it's grounded in what we call application programming interfaces, or APIs. It's going to be intriguing to see how insurance-related personnel and non-personnel data is accessed and shared via APIs. By 2032, according to Sangha, there are estimated to be more than 800 million open insurance users worldwide. So there are some executives that I have spoken to when I think about their technology needs and I ask them questions about how they're looking to staff. That common thing used to be, well, we need people who are really good with data, and then it became we need people who are really good with analytics and the ability to deploy those technologies. And increasingly, what we're hearing is we need people who understand how to configure APIs. APIs act as sort of the middleware, if you will, between multiple systems. And what they do is they allow solutions to become scaled up in a fairly technology agnostic manner. Our third contributor, I guess we'll call them, is Margot Giles. Margot Giles is CEO of Go Giles Incorporated. And what Margot is excited about is the user interface, user experience. This is particularly true with the prevalence of mobile technology. Margot believes that there's going to be a massive shift away from the traditional user experience, particularly in insurance. And design thinking will be driving the acquisition and servicing for insurance, and it will emulate more of an Amazon experience. Having said that, though, it's probably not likely that there will ever be a true ease of purchase experience similar to Amazon, due primarily to the complexity and regulatory considerations of insurance. Unlike Amazon, where you can simply go in and click on a product and read reviews and things of that nature, insurance is a somewhat complicated product to understand. And of course, that's dependent on what kind of insurance you're talking about. Certainly automobile insurance is fairly easy to understand. Homeowners, maybe a little less so. As at the time of this recording, we just came out of Hurricane Ian, and many people are starting to discover that coverages they thought they had, they really don't have, and they're starting to understand how complex their homeowners agreements are as it relates to covered risks and perils. So whether or not that experience can truly become an Amazon-like experience is really going to depend on how we can streamline and better simplify some of these products for people to better be informed and better be able to really engage in an Amazon-like manner. So what about me? What trends am I seeing? Well, there's three big trends that I've really taken notice of this particular year. To give you some perspective, I've gone to about 15, 16 industry conferences, anywhere from 500, 600 attendees to one that I just recently attended had 9,000 attendees. And three things are clearly emerging when you think about the sessions and what has everyone excited. And those are blockchain, ESG, and embedded insurance. So blockchain, everybody thinks about blockchain. They think about cryptocurrencies. Obviously, Bitcoin and Ethereum and all those are gathering the headlines. However, it's other applications of blockchains that are going to emerge, particularly in the reinsurance space, in the establishment of NFTs or non-fungible tokens for real estate, and the potential for blockchain to create a single record of truth in the medtech industry. There's a multitude of other applications that are being considered or in development with blockchain, and where those go and how they are implemented is still to be written. But I will say that I'm very confident in suggesting that blockchain as a technology is definitely here to stay, regardless of what happens in the crypto markets. ESG, or environmental and social and governance considerations, have really seen tremendous pickup in the amount of resource allocation and focus of organizations. Obviously, people are more prone to do companies that have a social conscience. We see that time and time again when companies either have a data breach or they've been accused of having practices that don't particularly lend themselves well to either diversity and inclusion or fair trade or fair labor. And so increasingly companies are looking to technology to help them solve this ESG. It's not really a conundrum. It's this focus that is necessary to do business in today's climate, particularly with social media. These social media platforms really are accelerating this ESG pickup. It's not uncommon for a company to have a stumble and it quickly take over Twitter or TikTok or whatever. And some of these social initiatives are also emerging that are focused on financial literacy, banking the unbanked, global sustainability, and things of that nature. In fact, ESG is really becoming a valuation metric for investing. How invested are companies in their ESG initiatives? And that becomes a determinant on social and practical investing, or at least on setting up portfolios of companies that are very ESG minded. Finally, one of the biggest things that we're hearing in the insurance space is this buzzword of embedded insurance. You probably have encountered embedded insurance, particularly coming out of COVID. When you book travel, for example, at the very end of your booking, you get a little thing saying, would you like to protect your trip for $10 or whatever it is? And if anything happens, you'll be covered. That's an example of embedded insurance. However, it's going to go beyond those more traditional use cases, and I'll give you a couple examples. Tesla has been able to embed vehicle insurance right with their purchase transaction. It used to be that you go and buy a car at a dealership, and then you would go to your local insurance agent or whatever and secure your vehicle insurance for that car, but now they can be part of the same transaction. General Motors has also launched an extensive insurance practice that can embed the insurance experience right into the vehicle experience. The concept isn't new, but some of the technology, or more specifically the terminology, is fairly new, and applications are definitely expanding. There's some companies in the space like CoverGenius that have really established a strong foothold, and CoverGenius has embedded insurance relationships with some of the most prominent companies that you will see out there. I don't want to name any of them specifically, but if you just Google CoverGenius, you can see who they do business with, and the names will be familiar to all of you. So as you can see, there's a lot of different trends, and it really can be difficult to keep pace, not only for someone who's considering a career in insurance, but certainly for companies to understand emerging trends, as well as regulators, academics. When we think about curriculum, we really have to understand how dynamic this ecosystem is and try and keep pace with it. So I have a recommendation. There is an organization called CB Insights. They're really terrific resource to keep up to date with what's going on in the fintech space, whether it's banking technology or payments technology, insurance technology, et cetera. And you can sign up to receive regular emails that also talks about funding rounds, capital markets, the availability of funding out there, new companies, new technologies, and the latest in consolidation amongst all these companies. So a great resource to keep up with what the trends are and to get a sense of what has staying power and what doesn't. So with that, I'd like to thank NextGen for inviting me to speak, and I'm wishing you well on your career aspirations in insurance or insurtech. And for any of you that would like to connect, have any additional questions of me or would like to simply speak with me, my email is on the screen, john.wilson@uconn.edu, and I'd be happy to entertain a conversation. So with that, I will say thank you and wish you well for the rest of your day.
Hey everyone, my name is Denise Matthews and I work at the National Association of Insurance Commissioners, or the NAIC. So have you ever heard of it? Many have not, but I would tell you that it's an incredibly interesting place to work and something that's very, very important to all of us. It's where I grew up professionally and where I stayed because, well, it is interesting, challenging. I learn something new every day, and frankly, I have never been bored in this job the many years that I've been here. So it's been a great, great career for me, and I'll talk a little bit about it. But I hadn't heard of NAIC either when I first moved to Kansas City, and I frankly answered an ad in the newspaper about a job at this place called NAIC. So yes, that was a long time ago, and that was probably clear when I said newspaper, because it was a printed newspaper and a want ad in that printed newspaper. So I was just randomly looking for a job. I was fresh out of college with my business administration degree in my hand, moving to a new city, and needed to pay the rent. So I took another job while I was waiting for NAIC to get back to me, because I guess they were considering my credentials and whether or not I was good enough for this organization. But then when they called me, I eagerly went to the interview and asked them what this NAIC thing was. And I have really no idea why they were interested in me, but they offered me the job, I accepted it, and that began a very long career in insurance, and more specifically in insurance regulation. So yeah, my kids laugh and roll their eyes too when I say how fascinating and incredibly interesting this world of insurance is. But I guarantee you, I promise you that it is. I started at NAIC as the data entry manager. Again, dating myself, data entry, don't do that anymore. From there, I led the first implementation of electronic filing of financial statement data by insurers to the NAIC. Then I moved to NAIC's research division, and I was still involved in financial statement filings. I was just in a different aspect of it, but learning more every day. And then I moved back to NAIC's information technology group and led a project to, again in the financial area, to re-engineer our systems that NAIC uses to gather and QA and analyze and provide tools and analytics to regulators that they use to monitor the financial solvency of the industry. So this is really important work. I then moved on to being the information technology director, and I've spent a fast 15 years in that area, but that was when I broadened my horizons outside of this area of financial solvency, and I learned that there was so much more to insurance and so much more to insurance regulation. So that was a super interesting time. But think about how important it is that insurance regulators continue to adequately and in a strong way monitor the solvency of the industry. When was the last time, and maybe you haven't filed very many insurance claims, but when was the last time you filed a claim and found out that your insurer was insolvent or unable to pay claims? Probably never. And not even during the 2008 financial crisis was there a blip in terms of insurance companies staying strong and being able to pay claims. And that is because insurance regulators are hard at work, and also the industry is very conscientious and participating in making sure that it stays strong and able to pay claims. So after I finished my stint as the IT director at NEIC, now you're starting to see a trend. There are so many interesting and cool things to do in insurance, and this is on the regulator side, not even talking about the industry side yet. But after I finished that, I had the great fortune of moving into a role reporting to our regulatory services area as kind of the innovation and tech person. I was also managing a group of people who were specializing in the area of property and casualty insurance. So I learned a lot about P&C products and services and how that area, that market is regulated. I mean, keep in mind that it's all about availability and affordability, right? I mean, these products have to be available to consumers and at a reasonable price. So this is an interesting dynamic in terms of insurance regulation. But I got to focus on this innovation and tech thing as well, which has been super fun. So that started about 6 years ago, and I think that's maybe what you guys want to think about today when you're thinking about exciting new careers in NEIC. While I've been in this role, I've had so many great opportunities, and this is available to anybody who wanted to get involved in insurance, this boring thing called insurance, which I promise you is not boring. It's actually fascinating and super interesting. I was able to start out by helping regulators build networks and understanding of this thing called InsurTech. And that is startups and new innovative ideas and products and services made possible through this advancing technology and the huge amounts of data that are available to all of us now as a result of the internet and as a result of really mobile devices and the Internet of Things that connect us all together and make all this information available to be utilized for so many different ways. So first of all, I get to go out to Silicon Valley out in California, and I get to visit all kinds of cool companies out there and go to an accelerator called Plug and Play and meet with so many interesting people who have great ideas in terms of how they're going to expand on and bridge gaps, solve problems related to the insurance industry. And if you were in that group at the beginning of my talk who said, yeah, I don't know what NEIC is, and rolled your eyes about insurance, you know, maybe you're like some of these other startups who had this great idea, had this great technology, also were gathering all this data they thought was interesting, and then they thought, oh boy, somebody needs to pay for all of this. I need investors. I need somebody to help me move this great idea forward. And they thought, wow, this would probably be applicable to insurance, because I'm going to tell you that almost everything's applicable to insurance, and insurance is, you know, important to almost everything. So they decided to approach the insurance industry, but they didn't know anything about it. So that's where I came in and insurance regulators came in. We taught them about insurance regulation, and we in turn learned so many things about what they were doing and how they were applying technologies and data, again, to solve problems. Like, you know, insurance companies don't have the greatest, you know, reputation with consumers. I mean, who wants to buy insurance? You know, who wants to go out there and shop for insurance? Nobody does. So they came up with all kinds of cool ways to improve their relationships, their methods of distributing these products and delivering products that consumers are very, very interested in, and being able to purchase it online, as so many people want to do today. So that's what I got to do. Then I got involved in a host of different events related to that type of thing, going out to Las Vegas to the InsurTech Connect conference and getting involved with so many accelerators here in the Midwest, the Global Insurance Symposium. In your area, the Hartford InsurTech Hub is a super cool place to visit and find out what they're up to. And got involved then, you know, the pandemic hit, and we started to like cut back our in-person activities, and we started to work on modifying legislation and modifying existing regulations to make it more encouraging of remove obstacles to this innovation and technology. Now I'm really involved in cool thing, developing regulatory framework for industry's use of big data or alternative data and artificial intelligence. Sounds really fun. It is really fun. So moving along to how this all pertains to you all and what you should be thinking about. I don't know everything. I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know what's going to happen in the future, but what I do know is things are going to continue to change. And the insurance industry and insurance regulation, we are all, just like everybody else, highly incentivized to seek and find the best talent and people with creative ideas and who are curious and who have an aptitude towards analyzing all this data that's now available and applying it in very meaningful ways to solve problems, to ensure that consumers have protections, to ensure that the economy continues to, build commercial buildings and do all sorts of interesting things, take risks, because without insurance, nobody is going to take the risk that it's going to, that they have to be able to do things like build autonomous vehicles or build a huge bridge or solve problems where there are a lot of natural catastrophes and that type of thing. So it's a very important area to get involved in. So they're looking for you. And what you have to know is that you will be the benefactor of, or potentially the benefactor of, an incredibly wonderful job in insurance if you just look for it, and they are looking for you. So in the area of InsurTech specifically, I already mentioned the Hartford Hub, and I think that's like across the street from the Connecticut Insurance Department. And there are so many other accelerators around that are fostering these great ideas that these new companies are coming up with. And they are really looking for, again, I mentioned curiosity, but just passion for this area. And also, people who understand data and technology. One question was, what were the greatest areas of career growth in insurance? I would say, and I'm going to say a word that you'll probably, again, roll your eyes when I say it, but actuaries. And think about actuaries understand insurance. They understand how insurance works. They understand data. Data scientists, same thing. These are skill sets and areas that startups, insurtechs, and even legacy carriers are really looking for. And we are looking for those types of skill sets in insurance regulation as well. But it doesn't mean that it's boring. You get to do all those things that I mentioned earlier that I've had the great opportunity to do, interact with smart people, a lot of people who are idealistic or thinking futuristically on how to change this industry, how to make it better, and how to ensure that consumers have the products that they need, that commercial entities have the products that they need to continue to take risks and to build our economy and build a great future for all of us. So I would encourage you to not shy away from insurance as being something boring and stodgy. It's not. And there are so many people who are recognizing it today. And also in the area of diversity, this is very important, and the insurance industry and regulators are coming up with all kinds of new ideas to bring diversity into our circles, to focus on ways to train and bring along people with the aptitude or interest. You don't necessarily have to have a college degree these days. I mean, it's about practical experience. So get in there, learn about insurance, learn about InsurTech, learn about your own products, and figure out, maybe think about, how would I improve this and how would I make this better if I had the opportunity? A lot of really cool jobs available. It's an interesting field. It's fun. As I said, I've never been bored a day. I learn something new almost every day, and I have had the great fortune of being able to meet so many interesting people along the way that have expanded my horizons and taught me so much, and taught me different perspectives, and taught me about what a great career somebody can have in the field of insurance and insurance regulation. So I'd encourage you to take that step, ask the questions, dig into the possibilities of a career in insurance. So that's what I have to say and leave you with. Hope you all take advantage of your opportunities, what's before you. It's a bright world, great place to have a career.
Hello, my name is Kim Bishop. I am the Chief Talent Officer at the Metro Hartford Alliance, which is an economic development group out of the Hartford region. And my role is not necessarily in insurance, but working with young professionals really throughout the state who have careers in insurance. Hartford is the insurance capital of the world, and we are extremely proud of that. We have an incredible concentration of insurance companies here in our state that are incredibly committed to our state and to growing young talent here. So considering a career in insurance is a fantastic idea. And we are really an innovation hub right now with that great concentration of insurance companies. Of course, comes a lot of thought and growth and innovation. InsurTech is huge. There's a really great opportunity to get involved in the future of insurance. And as young professionals, you are going to be the future of insurance. This is your opportunity to grow insurance from the user experience and beyond. There's also amazing careers in insurance that are a little bit different on the marketing side of things, on the communication side, PR, tech and IT. These are all incredible jobs within great companies that are not necessarily dealing with insurance every single day, but are incredibly important to insurance overall and to, making everything work. So why Connecticut? Why insurance? Why Connecticut? Well, again, if you're going to work in insurance, you might as well work in the insurance capital of the world. And, why Connecticut? Connecticut's a great place for our young professionals to be. And so many of our companies are so committed to creating an incredible quality of life for our young professionals and really a great work-life balance. They're really committed to making sure that you have what you need to grow and succeed. And as a Chief Talent Officer, my job is to work not only with young talent and bring young talent here, but to work with HR and our companies to understand what their practices are around talent. And so I can say that these companies are incredibly invested in our talent and making sure that you can grow and find your roots here in Connecticut. Giving back is incredibly important, and so many of our companies really support your philanthropic efforts. There's a lot of diversity, equity, and inclusion within our companies, and Connecticut is really overall a diverse place to be. There's lots to do, there's lots to see, and there's a lot of other young professionals who call our state home and are really loving it here and thriving here. So whether you grew up here or you're considering coming back here or you're just going to school here, Connecticut is an incredible option for you to start your future and grow your future here as a young professional within the insurance industry. There's so many different ways to get involved with your companies, a lot of employee resource groups, and ways that you can really kind of create company culture and take action within your organization, but then also outside of your companies themselves. Young professional networking groups are thriving throughout our state. One of the ones that I oversee is HYPE, Hartford Young Professionals and Entrepreneurs. It's 16 years old this year, so we've been around for a very long time with over 4,000 young professionals in the Hartford region who get together and have events and networking and fundraisers and do a lot of great work in the community. And, really our job is to connect young professionals to the people, places, and things that matter to them. So you're working for a great insurance company, that's awesome. So how do we get you more involved? How do we get you sitting on a nonprofit board? How do we get you volunteering in the community? How do we get you meeting new friends, joining a sports league? And that's really what a lot of our YP groups are about. So no matter where you end up across the state, there is likely a YP group in your region that's incredibly supportive. And we all work together quite frequently to make sure that we're sharing best practices. So no matter where you land, get involved with a YP group. It's a great way to grow yourself personally and professionally. Overall, a career in insurance, coming from someone who doesn't work in insurance, I think is a great step. It's, just so many different opportunities for different career paths. And again, our companies are incredibly supportive of our young professionals and growing the talent that we have here. The future talent that's coming through now, again, is the future of insurance. It's really the future of work. And we would love for you to stay and to get connected and to call Connecticut home. So if you have any questions about what it's like to be a young professional here, I encourage you to reach out to me or reach out to any of the YP groups in your region. A quick Google search will usually pull them up, and ask them, what is there to do? The answers will definitely surprise you. There's a lot of great things happening here for our young people, not just with careers, but personally as well. So take the leap and get your career in a great insurance company and grow and thrive and change the future of insurance.